All right. Well, the impeachment of Joe Biden has been filed, which is still kind of boring, I guess. I mean, it's a big deal that they've formally filed to impeach Joe Biden over withholding military aid to Israel in exchange for a quid pro quo. Basically, Joe Biden said to Israel, do not engage in military actions, the ones that we don't want you to do. Otherwise, we will not give you congressionally approved military aid, which he does not have the authority to do, according to Democrats. And then he did withhold it when Israel, before they even went into Rafah. So that's a quid pro quo. Why'd he do it? Well, he's getting attacked mercilessly by many young Democrats for his support of Israel, and he's trying to signal that he's on the right side of history, whatever it is. So he's desperate for those political points, and now they filed for impeachment. I don't know that it actually goes anywhere, but last night we were talking about how they were preparing to impeach him. Now they've actually, it's been formally filed by Corey Mills. We'll see if that actually goes anywhere. We'll talk about that. But the big news, of course, outside of that is Michael Rapaport has withdrawn his endorsement, and as you know, that's a very big deal. It's big enough in that, I mean, Rapaport, such a strong anti-Trump personality, coming out in the way he is, it's indicative of what we're seeing for a lot of different people. So we'll talk about that. But then I suppose the actual real big story, which, we probably could have let off with, is the X-class solar flare that is barreling towards Earth, has already made contact in some places. Europe is already seeing the northern lights, but they're red instead of green. So whip out your biblical prophecies, prepare for a lesson in eschatology, because we're going to talk about whatever that means, but I actually don't know enough anyway, so we'll do that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com, buy coffee. We got great coffee. Some say it's the best. At least that's what I've been told. Appalachian Nights sells like hotcakes. Rise with Roberto Jr. is a close second, but really, Appalachian Nights is big. Everybody really loves it. And then we got our Alex Stein's Primetime Grind, 2 times caffeine. Drink responsibly. Caffeine, you got to drink responsibly. And head over to Timcast.com, click Join Us to become a member, and hang out in the Discord server with like-minded individuals. But also, when you're in the Discord server, you are networking, you're connecting with people, and you will get access to our Monday through Thursday members-only call-in show with a huge library of all of our uncensored shows going way back. And more importantly, it's about the networking. And being a member supports the show. It's how we make the show happen. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Joshua Smith.
Hey, how's it going, Tim? Thanks so much for having me on again. For those who don't know, I'm a candidate for president for the Libertarian Party. Our nomination's coming up in 2 weeks, so maybe we get the nomination, maybe we don't. I don't know. Also the host of Break the Cycle with Joshua Smith, live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thanks for having me.
Easy enough. Shane's hanging out.
Yo, HARP is trending. The sun is exploding. I'm Shane Cashman, and Inverted World Live is going to debut on Sunday, 6 p.m. On YouTube at Tales from the Inverted World. My first guest will be Tim Pool. We will talk about reality. We will talk about the sun exploding. Talk about ghosts.
Yeah, and in Tales from the Inverted World, I'm 100% serious. Tales from the Inverted World is filmed on location in a haunted house.
I've been living in a haunted house for 3 years.
And I want to stress this again. I am not joking or exaggerating. We actually got a barn house that was built in like the 1850s and fixed it up, and that's where the show is actually shot and filmed. And the staff at Timcast have been complaining about weird goings on there. I'm not joking.
They're hearing strange sounds, doors are slamming. It is bizarre, and we are filming the show in there.
Shane saw the meme online that's like, "Stay here for $1 million," and he just stayed. He never left.
I didn't even need $1 million.
I gotta be honest. If you're a ghost, you're pissed because every space of that building is occupied by workers.
Yes,
but like the first week of being here, people are like, "Hey, there's some weird stuff going on here." I'm like, "Well, you're in a haunted house." I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're ghosts. I'm just telling you, it's a house that is like 170 years old. Yep. The ceilings are like 6'5" because people were short back then.
Yep.
So it's pretty well.
And we're getting call-ins on Sundays. So we have people lined up to call in, and we'll be hearing their crazy stories about ghosts and centaurs and near-death experience. Oh yeah, it's wild.
Well, you do know that 6'5" ceilings weren't big enough for Nephilim giants, so at least you're doing good there.
Yeah, they might be underground waiting to come back.
All right, we got Phil hanging out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm a counter. I messed it up today. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. How you doing, Ann Claire?
I can't believe you messed that up.
Why?
Well, it's your monologue. It's who you are. It's the only thing. I thought that was your whole name at one point. I'm Hannah Cook-Brimble. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. I'm tonight's diversity hire, here to represent women, fulfill all the Title IX requirements. Hi, Serge.
Hello. Yeah, let's get started, Tim.
Here's the big news, I guess. we'll definitely, I think the solar flare might be bigger news, but when they file to impeach the president, I feel like you can't ignore it. And I got to be honest, I feel kind of bored with it. But okay, so we all know Biden, he's being accused of a quid pro quo. He tells Israel, if you invade Rafah, I'm not going to give you the military aid, which is beyond his capabilities as president, because Congress has already approved the aid to be delivered to Israel. I'm not saying we like that, but Joe Biden doesn't have the authority to unilaterally deny Congress having voted to pass this aid. That is one branch acting like they can do so much more. Now, don't get me wrong. The president sets foreign policy, and the president, in my opinion, actually could do this, but the standard has been set by Democrats when they impeached Donald Trump for doing the exact same thing. Because Trump said to Ukraine, we're not going to give you the aid. We want to know what's going on. And then Ukraine said, okay. And then that's it. He's impeached. So now Joe Biden's got to go. And then we can have, I don't know, Kamala Harris, I guess.
Oh, geez. Don't get me started. No, please, God, no.
People are going to jump into the
world.
why. They're going to jump into the, oh, well, it was different because Donald Trump did this, or it was different because blah, blah, blah. There's already people beginning to make that argument on Twitter. And the why does not matter. The fact of the matter is that Congress approved the shipments, whether you like them or not. Congress did, and then the president threatened to intercede in those shipments because of politics, and the president does not have the authority to do that. So if you're going to impeach Donald Trump for it, you got to impeach Joe Biden for it, or at least there is justification to impeach Joe Biden for it.
Listen,
and I say good for the Republicans for doing it, because F the Democrats.
I'm not going to do what past libertarian candidates have done and say they're great public servants, but I'm riding with Biden on this one. All right? Because look, I believe the president should have the power. Even if they don't, I believe they probably do have the power to veto spending bills. And this is, to me, it's a spending bill. And the AUMF has given the president the power to direct our military all over the world for decades now anyways. So like, it's good for Biden. Good for Biden. I'm glad that Biden is deciding not to send any more of my taxpayer money to wars that I don't.
Can he do it to
support.
all wars?
God, I sure wish
Can we
he
just
could.
eliminate all the
Wouldn't
wars?
that be perfect?
But he won't do that.
I would like to see it stopped.
Well, I suppose I should say I got to agree. I am also riding with Biden on this one.
You're all
And, you're live.
Well, because let's talk principally. When Donald Trump said that he's going to withhold military aid, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think the president negotiating with foreign countries needs to have the executive authority over our military and how we align and ally with other countries. Congress saying we approve this being sent, I believe ultimately goes to the president to make the determination in these negotiations with foreign leaders. That means the same would apply for Biden. But if we're going to be, if we're saying this is the standard that has been set, and you want to play ball, we'll play ball. That I get, but I also disagree with impeaching Joe Biden in any capacity, because we are 6 months away from an election he is poised to lose on the merits, and we don't need to give them any more advantages. So right now, the real issue for the election is the shadow campaign, whatever it may be. I don't know, but there certainly is one, and Biden is a bucket of concrete strapped to the legs of the Democratic Party. Yes. I don't think it's wise the GOP decide to help take that bucket of concrete off their legs as they're trying to swim this victory.
It's funny that we live in a world where impeachments are now like PR positives for
Absolutely.
presidents. Don't do it because it's going to help
But
him.
then that happened to Trump. Like when he got impeached, his support went up.
Of course,
which is also hilarious because there's no way that happens with Biden, right? If he gets impeached, they're like everyone who's running away from his ship is already going to be like, yeah, see, I told you he was a bad guy.
Look, the thing about Trump, and God bless him for doing this. This is one of the greatest things that Trump did, was he made people hate the corporate news media. Like, absolutely, that was one of the greatest things of the Trump presidency. And so, like, of course, when the news media started going in on him on this impeachment, everybody's like, yeah, screw them, Yep. But this is just a ploy by the Democrats to slide somebody else in there right before the election. There's no doubt about it.
Sure. But let's talk about my favorite thing ever, and I can't believe it's been almost 10 years. The well-done steak with ketchup. It was Trump. Trump knows what he's doing.
Oh, geez.
So a 30-day dry-aged steak, and they said, Mr. Trump, how would you like? And he says, well done, with a side of ketchup. And Trump, I've been to Mar-a-Lago. The man knows how to eat a steak. Like, you don't have a club like that without understanding culinary standards. The way people dress, the dress codes. He did this because he knew the media would make fun of him, and then middle America would be like, that's how I have my steak.
That's how we eat our steak here. Yeah, exactly.
Why are they making fun of Trump? They're not making fun of Trump. They were making fun of the people when they did that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He knows
Trump,
PR
I think
master.
that was the point in which I really understood the amount of troll that Trump was that, and then the Cfei meme as well. You know what I mean? You can't ever forget that. You woke up. That was in the morning too. You woke up and you're like, what the hell? And you're like, oh, I know what's going on.
You know, he learned a lot by being in front of a camera on reality TV.
Oh, of course.
Knowing like if I just do this one thing, I can tweak the entire media sphere.
Of course.
So that's what all this. I mean, most of it.
He always, since the day he started flirting with the idea of announcing his run for presidency, has controlled the media cycle. Right? I mean, it lives and thrives off of what Trump does, in part because they hate him so much they can't look away, which is sort of hysterical, but also because he knows that he is a bigger personality than anybody else on both sides of the aisle, including Joe Biden, who's like barely with us as far as I can tell. It's really interesting to me, and maybe that's because of his reality TV background, but I also think you are just born that way. There are some people with this kind of charisma.
This version of Joe Biden is almost not with us. Who knows if it's the same one?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Whichever one is there.
The Cfei thing was great because what did he say? Despite the negative, it was like despite the negative, the media Cfei, or something. And then there were people actually, I think Cassandra actually wrote this, and it was like Cfei is Arabic for I will stand. And I'm like, come on. Someone potato fingers to the phone and then accidentally hit send. That's all that happened. And then Trump responded with like, what could it mean?
Yeah.
And he's just loving it. He's just
like,
laughing.
I'm in charge. I'm living in all of your heads rent free.
If it was a fat thumb thing, he would have taken it down. I mean, there's no doubt.
I don't know.
No, it was
I think
a fat thumb thing.
I think he likes it. I think he likes it. It's a clown playing 4D chess, but it's not 4D chess.
They did it on purpose.
You think he wrote Cfei?
Yeah,
I don't.
think he did it on purpose.
I don't think he did it on
ask him?
purpose. I do think that he just left it. He's like, it makes people talk.
Maybe.
It's funny.
Maybe.
Yeah, he started laughing when he realized how everybody it was trending, and he was like, "What could it mean?"
I also think this is the difference between a president. You know, people point out that Joe Biden's the oldest president. Trump is older, right? He's like 78 now, but he loves social media. He loves it. He loves Twitter. He thinks it's great. He started Truth Social. Whereas Joe Biden, I don't think ever was really in charge of his own social media account. So he doesn't have any way to message himself. He is completely dependent on whatever Gen Z staffer they're like, you must know about the internet. You write my tweets.
His hands don't work.
Nothing works.
His legs work separate of the rest of his body. He's like a lobster.
Yeah, that's true. Look. For my own candidacy for president, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're too rough. You're this. You're too much of a troll online." I'm like, "Did you not see Donald Trump in the White House for 4 years, man? Like, what? That's what people want now. They want somebody that's going to say dumb shit like that all the time, you know." So
I miss it.
I think it's personality. I think people want to feel like there is someone with decisiveness and who has a personality.
Yeah.
Whereas I think everyone sort of feels, even if registered Democrats are like, yeah, Joe Biden's there, but he's more of the amalgamation of whatever his staffers are doing. Yeah. He's not enough of a personality to feel like a leader, and he's not present enough in anyone's mind to really feel like an inspirational
I don't
candidate.
think anybody in the United States believes that Joe Biden is running the country right now.
Well, I don't think anyone looks at him and said, yes, I want that guy as he is in the White House.
Yeah.
I think they're like, well, I guess I have to vote for him.
I think it's magic. I think it's Trump. When he walks in a room, he has an aura just coming out of him. And you can see it when he's somewhere. The way people act around him, it's the weirdest thing. Some people just have it, the X factor. I don't mean literal magic. There's like something about him you can't put your finger on. Call it the X factor. Call it whatever it is. Some people have it, some people don't. Not a single Democrat's got it. No. Trump's got too much. And there's a bunch of Republicans that have a little bit. But it's just like, Trump's that guy that everybody wants to tell a story to, that everybody wants to talk to, that they want Trump to hear what they have to say for some reason. Don't know why.
Our guitar player's like that, Mike. Everybody likes him. Everybody wants to hang out with him, and I can't figure out why. He's been in the band 20 years. I hate to go.
Phil's like, why is he still here?
He's still here? Holy crap.
Phil votes him out every time. He's still there.
Get out of here. I call him stupid Mike Martin all the time.
He just shows back up, and then we all just let him stay.
I mean, he's bigger than me. He's big and strong, too, so I can't say no. All right.
Are you being bullied in your own band?
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
That's why Phil works out so much. Like, one of these days, Mike, one of these days.
Never did. He like before he had a kid, he used to work out, and I think his max bench was like 405
Holy shit,
or something.
that's a lot, yeah.
Stupid.
So do people like him, or are they just scared of him?
No, they really like it is weird. Like I've said it before, he's got this weird charisma. He's not super outgoing, and he's not the kind of person that's really boisterous, and he's not the kind of person that goes out and socializes a lot. But there's something about him when like people meet him, they're just like, I like that guy, and he's just got this charisma where people are like, I want to go and hang out with that guy.
Is he from New York?
I think.
Is he from New York?
No, he's from Ludlow.
Oh, okay.
I think someone in the chat, they kind of explained it. It's this. There's a new way to describe the energy that Trump has. Riz.
Yes.
Oh, the Riz.
Yes.
He is risen.
He has the Riz.
Yeah, the Riz. Yeah.
Do you think that
My
we're gonna-
12-year-old says that.
Do you think we're gonna have fewer charismatic people because we had a generation of kids? Like, well, every generation is increasingly more online.
Well, no, I think the charisma died out when comedy died out. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it was like everything's any joke now is like off limits and offensive, and like you can't go out and have that aura anymore. You're misogynist.
So
or
I agree
whatever.
I agree with you about comedy, but I don't think the charisma has died off. I still think that there is an innate amount of charisma, and it's not just pretty privilege, because again, like I said, Mike, he's not what you would consider like a good looking dude. Like he's not.
So you don't like him, and he's ugly.
Oh, jeez, dude.
I knew you were gonna do
no, but
this.
here's
Is it
the
his
thing.
birthday?
But here's the thing:
Come on.
is like we used to have a whole generation of men that wanted to have the Riz. I mean, that was like men aspired to have the Riz.
I agree.
to have swag, and now they aspire.
But
you're
talking about something different. You're talking about something different than what I'm talking about. So like Riz, and because what it sounds like is you're talking about things like being able to interact and kind of like how to win friends and influence people, right?
Sure, the aura.
Yeah, but the thing is, there is a certain amount of just natural charisma that people have, where you don't know why someone walks into a room and you're like, I like that guy, and I don't know why. Oftentimes, it's associated with things like height, with facial symmetry and stuff like that. Not always. Sometimes it's not. And like I said, Mike isn't like he's not a weird looking guy, but he's not a particularly handsome guy where you're like, oh, is a pretty dude. Like
I think everybody knows that, the moment Trump steps out on that stage or appears on the TV, all the ladies are fainting and fanning themselves.
He's the new Beatles.
He's the Beatles.
Yeah.
he
Right,
had
right.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was younger, he
It's a
had that.
satire.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
he also had a lot of money.
Well, I mean,
At the end of the day,
But
that's
there are
where-
a lot of
when-
people with
when-
lots of money who are very awkward and weird.
Sure, and
Money
they still
has
have
Bill
women
Gates.
fawning over them every day.
Money
Every
has
day.
never made anyone ugly.
Look at-
money has never made someone ugly.
Have you ever
seen
Bill
plastic
Gates?
surgery?
I was about to say, have you ever
Again.
seen an interview with Bill Gates?
Bill Gates
before?
is a
You know what I'm
melting
talking about?
marshmallow.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
goofy
in a sweater vest.
person. Yeah.
Let's jump to this next story from SCNR. Perhaps one of the most important and shocking things we've seen so far. Michael Rapaport has withdrawn his endorsement for Joe Biden. I can't believe it. The esteemed comedian is now saying that he will not be supporting Biden. He says, I'm officially unendorsing Joe Biden. I did so much work on behalf of this soft serve ice cream eating MF. I'm done. I want to give him a shout out. The reason why his journey's been so incredible is because he's so vocal, he's so animated in his mockery of Trump and now of Biden, and he is a funny guy. I think there's a P missing from him. He has two P's.
I guess Israel's
Yeah. Oh,
more
no, that's
important to Rapaport than our democracy, huh?
you go.
Well,
But-
that's unfortunate.
Well, but he's legit funny, and even when he says voting for pig dick Donald Trump is on the
Democracy,
table,
you say.
it's funny,
Yes,
and I can
it is.
respect it. But I think ultimately what we see here is the tides there are turning, and there are a lot of people who are. This is not just about Mike Rapaport. We were talking about this the other day, Jewish voters who, up until a week ago, were anti-Trump and for Joe Biden and endorsing him, and bang, they're now pro-Trump, instantly anti-Biden, just on one issue, overnight.
Well, I think the funny thing is that Biden has supported Israel way more than Trump ever has, ever. And they're, I mean, at the end of the day, they're both pro-Zionist and
Yeah,
have
you know,
been-
Trump put the embassy in Jerusalem.
Yeah,
right. Like, he
right.
did make big
right.
moves.
And Trump is the one who executive
Yeah.
ordered the anti-Semitism definition.
Yes.
yeah, and he did the Abraham Accords.
Well, the Abraham
So he
Accords
did-
are good.
No, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
saying like he was trying to do things that seemed pro-Israel-ish.
Right,
But
right,
Joe
right.
Biden's
doing
Joe
different
Biden's been
things.
voting to send money to
Yeah.
Israel for
Yes.
40 years.
Look,
You
right,
know,
right.
He made a
good
career
point.
of this.
It's
Good point.
his career. I mean, he's supported Israel way more than Donald Trump ever has.
I see what you're
Not
saying.
even.
Yep.
It's not even close. And so
Anything that pisses off the communists, the Nazis, at the same time, I'm kind of for it, man. So if it hurts the Democrats and it hurts the communists and it pisses off the Nazis, I'm like, all right, I kind of like it, because that all of that stuff is anti-American BS. So
Right.
I just think this is, an example of how many Americans feel betrayed by Biden, right? Like, it's why when people say, like, we have empathy for loss of life in other places, but we want you to focus on what's going on at home. Like, we are suffering here. The border is way too open. I cannot pay my bills.
None of that matters to
But
Michael Rapaport at
No,
all.
but it's interesting because he's like, I was on your side and I feel as though you've betrayed me. Whatever his reasoning is, like, I think that's a sentiment that a ton of voters share right now.
Yeah.
It's not that they're in love with Donald Trump. Maybe there are people who are won over, but a lot of people are just like, Biden is the worst and he let me down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think this will be the thing that changes Rapaport to see other issues like that?
No.
Like if you know his Israel is his
Absolutely
gateway drug
not. No.
into seeing other problems in this country.
Yeah, this is a one and done kind
You
of
think
thing.
so?
Like Israel,
Yeah.
when it comes to like Jewish people
That's it.
that are generally liberal or leftist, and they were like, oh, this one issue, this will be the one and done. They're
So you
not
don't
going to
see
be
him
like,
in like a brick suit at the border wall.
no, I don't
campaigning.
see. I definitely
Okay.
don't see him, being like build a wall. Not at all.
The pro-Zionist people, the majority of the pro-Zionist people in the United States are liberal. They just support pro-Zionist Republicans because they're pro-Zionist,
Well, I mean, what do you mean by liberal?
like culturally, and they want. I mean, they want
liberal in an American sense, or liberal as in
not liberal as in the classical liberal
Okay,
sense.
You mean
no,
like-
like neoliberal,
Democrat
open the entire border.
So okay, you just said neoliberal.
Sex changes
Did
for
you,
children.
You just said, hold on. You just said neoliberal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think of libertarians as neoliberal?
Absolutely not.
Sitch and Adam, you see. Anyways, this
We
is
lost.
just-
We
wait,
lost
wait,
that
wait.
term. We lost that term to the left.
So
That's
there's,
how it
yeah,
works.
so there's these two.
Neoliberal is a reference to like Democrat establishment corporatism.
That's what I think too. And
But it
they're-
is.
No,
that's what I
but the
thought.
classical term liberal was libertarianism. I mean, the founders were classical liberals. That's how they were.
Right.
But the left stole that term from us. That's the problem with the right and libertarians is we've been losing the war on language for
100%,
decades and decades and
100%,
decades.
Yeah,
But that's why neoliberal exists.
Right.
Because liberal is a reference to there's different facets of liberalism in classical liberalism, traditional social liberalism, and then you have neoliberalism, like you have neoconservatism. It's the establishment uniparty garbage. But
This
what are
is
they?
what
Are
I
they,
thought.
are they arguing neolib means libertarian?
So that's what they're
they're
like
just
no
wrong.
libertarian because they're saying that it's a new liberalism that's open markets and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I never thought of neoliberal.
These guys are trying to
I always-
take it back, and
I
it's
always
not
thought
gonna
of-
work.
I always thought of neoliberals as Democrats.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
Hillary Clinton.
Exactly, Hillary Clinton. So they were just as much the war machine as anything else.
Listen, I just watched the
That
guy.
was my perspective
The
of it.
guy
And
who
we-
started the Liberal Caucus in the Libertarian Party, who's trying to bring his name's Josh.
Josh,
Eagle.
yeah, he's so-
trying to bring the term liberal back as neoliberal as libertarian, and then he's praising Bill Weld on
God, you
social media today.
can't.
Okay, that guy sat on the board of CFR. Like, come on,
He's
man.
so like
You know?
that's the thing. It's and that like that guy Josh. Like I think he means well. I had to block him because he's annoying, but I think he means well. But he's so.
I'd love to see your
wrong.
block list, Phil. I'd love to
It's
see your
long,
block list.
dude. Because I block at the drop. I'm on the Michael Malice train. Michael Malice is right when it comes to
I
Twitter.
only block the porn bots. That's
No,
it.
you
That's
block,
all I do.
block
I'll block
anyone
anybody.
at any reason for any reason at the drop of a hat because your
Phil?
Twitter experience is your experience, and
What if
you
you're a
are
masochist,
not,
Phil, like
you are
me?
not obligated to listen to anyone's
Phil,
BS.
you have to
wait, wait.
monetize the hate, man. Monetize
but
the hate.
But why even look at your mentions?
Oh, I still talk to people all the time.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I don't have 2
Yeah,
million.
mine's random.
Mine's still
That's
manageable.
It's just nonsense. It's
Mine's
like
still
I open it
manageable.
up and it's a mix of like crypto salesmen, marijuana, porn bots.
Porn bots. Lots of porn
Mine's,
bots.
A lot of porn
mine's
bots.
different now than it was like a year and change ago when I started coming down here regularly and stuff. But like it's still manageable.
I probably
Like,
have
yours is
2,000 Twitter porn bots blocked, but nobody else.
What
Zero
I
other
do
people.
is if there's someone that is, if I see, if I do periodically look at mentions and stuff like that. If I see someone, the first thing I do is I don't block them. I
Mute them.
No, I do block them.
Oh, you do.
And then I unblock them instantly. It's a force unfollow. So what that?
Oh, okay.
I'll stop appearing in their feed without them being blocked, and then out of sight, out of mind.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
So yeah,
He's
right.
giving away Twitter secrets
That's not a
right
bad
now.
idea.
Now I know why
Yeah,
Tim
like
stopped
that.
showing up in my Twitter feed, dude. That's messed up, man.
The force unfollow has been around forever. You block and unblock right away, and that because some people are trying to get blocked.
Oh, yeah.
So then they can then screenshot it and then start.
It's a currency.
Right.
It is. So you don't give it to them. You just it's step one is block unblock, and not they don't follow you anymore.
I just like following the people that are the worst to me. I just follow them back.
I don't. I do. Look, I take it back. I do block. There are some people, for a long time they went after my family. They were talking shit about my family. I do block people who talk about my children. That's the one. The one caveat that I carry is if you talk about my kids, you're done. You're out.
There was a time where people were going after, were like Antifa people were trying to go after the band, and so I started just blocking everything. I'm pretty good at keeping myself separate from the band. Like I don't do political stuff under the guise of All That Remains, so I can keep them separate. And the guys in the band, there are very different opinions in the band, right? Like we're not a monolith at all. So,
well, we were trying to adopt the baby sibling of our two adopted children, and people were calling the DHS trying to keep us from adopt, and they did. Eventually, it happened.
Really, you couldn't do it. You couldn't adopt the kid.
They just made it too hard.
That's crazy. Which means that like people kept a child from having a home with their biological siblings because of what they did on Twitter.
Yes.
This is the thing about the internet. Like I would be really interested to see an individual list of who has blocked all of us, because I think there is an aspect of the internet where people create a version of you. Like you are creating it when you post, but also people have a version of you that they have come predetermined to the platform, right?
They don't know me.
They see you on one thing and they're like, that guy is the worst and I hate him. And they don't actually spend any time looking at you. They'll block you right off the bat.
Be like, I'd like to know how many of my hater dorks like had adopted kids from foster care. I'd like to know how
this
many
goes.
of them.
This goes back to what we were saying. This goes back to what we were saying about charisma. There's the same kind of distaste, immediate knee-jerk reaction that people have to, like, some people, you'll just meet someone and there's like, I don't like something about that person, and you can't, and it's really, really hard to do anything about it if you like get that,
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's weird. I know there's one person who has me blocked on Twitter, and I know why. Person has never interacted with me ever. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting to think I don't care about you at all, but you care enough about me, even though we've never interacted, that you have to go out of your way to block my content. I'm like barely alive on Twitter.
I've had people call my jobs and all kinds of stuff. I mean, these people are nasty, man.
There were people that came after
we had bomb threats and death threats.
Yeah, you've had a bunch of shit too. Yeah, absolutely. I've had lots of death threats. If I showed up to my own anti-war rally for my own party in DC, they said they would kill me.
Wow.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's weird because I feel like the stuff that happened with us was very specific and centered around one particular thing that I can't discuss.
Okay.
But I see people post these messages where it's like, someone sent me this message, look, and it's like this really awful, nasty thing. You're a scumbag, piece of every swear in the world. We really don't get any of that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Aside from the swatting stuff that was going on, that was hyper specific to, there's still an ongoing investigation related to it, but they think they caught the guy. I don't know that they did, but that was really, really specific. In terms of the general death threats and stuff like this, I don't see it. Like we did the skate thing in DC. We announced we're going to be there. Not a peep. Oh, we showed up and everyone clapped and cheered and we got high fives.
Yeah, I carry everywhere I go.
I get like weird emotional messages. Like I've had people message me stuff that's like, just kind of dark. They're telling me stuff that like I cannot help them with from the internet. You don't really we don't actually know each other. And that's where it starts to be like, the internet's such an interesting tool and people can feel really bonded with someone. On the other hand, like it makes it so that there's this weird barrier where you're allowed to interact with someone in a way that like isn't real. But on the other end, like they have no ability to help me if you're like threatening to hurt yourself or something like that. And again, with the rise of like Twitter endorsements and like how many people, because if you were getting an endorsement for a presidential election in the past, right, you would like maybe get a congressman, maybe a newspaper would endorse you, their editorial board, whatever else. But now Michael Rapaport, different pillars of culture, especially that are big online, what they say really matters. And it can reach people in a way that I don't think campaigns have the ability to keep up with. I mean, the influencer effect on the election is intense.
We live in an influencer economy.
We do.
That's what
culture war is very important right now. Very important.
So let's talk about what's going on. We got big news that in 2 weeks, we got RFK Jr. and Donald Trump at the LP Libertarian Party National Convention.
And Vivek.
Yeah. Vivek's campaigning for Trump, though. So I assume it's all just about for.
Well, Vivek has actually said that he's going to debate our vice presidential candidate. Which could end up being Kurt Russell. Sorry.
Kurt Russell. Wow.
Big news, Joshua.
I just did exactly what Michael Rectenwald did on the show when he couldn't remember Clint's name. I know Clint. Clint's a good friend of mine.
Well, I said the other day that Trump made a mistake in hiring Michael Bolton. So,
Michael Bolton, exactly. No. So, it could end up being Clint Russell. from Liberty Lockdown is our vice presidential candidate. He has no real.
There are no challengers.
There are challengers, but I mean it's Clint. Like he's already. I mean he's kind of predetermined unless anybody else steps up. I think at this point.
Signaling that he's VP.
I don't know.
Subtly?
That's what I felt like. It felt like that that's his signal.
But he's standing behind Trump at the
Has Trump picked
fundraiser.
a VP yet?
No, but he's at Mar-a-Lago with Trump at a fundraiser, standing right next to him.
Yeah.
I don't see him. I see him going with the intent of helping Donald Trump.
Anyway,
so but to have a major political candidate going to the Libertarian Party convention,
a past president. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
It's massive. This is history.
The biggest thing that ever happened to the Libertarian Party. And, the normal social club people that have been in the Libertarian Party for a long time are really upset about this. I mean, they're really, and, there's a part of me that's like, hey, this is taking, at first, like, this is going to take a couple eyes off our candidate. But then I really got to the point where it's like, no, we're going to have more eyes on our candidate than we've ever had at the national convention in 50 years, right? So, like, and there's also, like, RFK Jr. is pushing for a debate with Donald Trump, right? Which, if that was to happen and get the LP, it's not going to happen.
No way.
It's probably not. But if we was able to get the Libertarian presidential candidate in there as well, because if we can pick the nominee early enough, then we have, 3 different parties basically actually doing something that the Libertarian Party has never been able to do ever in history.
When do you guys pick your candidate on the first day of your convention?
So
or?
it's supposed to be on the 3rd day, but there is a way to amend the agenda to move it up, and there's a lot of people that are talking, delegates, because our delegates, there's only 1,000 people that pick our nominee.
Yeah.
This delegates from all over the country show up and pick our nominee 2 weeks from today, actually. And so there's a chance that we move it up, we have our nominee picked, and that's the person that questions Donald Trump at the show. So.
Can you, when Angela made the announcement, she said that people were going to like send in questions or something beforehand. There's going to be sort of a list for Donald Trump.
There's already a list of things.
So is he getting is somebody moderating and asking him questions, or is he going to deliver a speech?
I've heard so many different things, but there's one that says if we have the nominee by then, the nominee is the one that gets to ask the questions from the panel. If we don't have the nominee, this is the list of questions. He's going to talk maybe about Ross Ulbricht. Maybe he's going to talk. There's certain things. There's all kinds of things flying around out there. Who knows what's real? Angela probably knows much better than I do what is real and what isn't. There's so much in the Twitter space. But look, the fact of the matter is that this is the biggest thing that happened to the Libertarian Party. And people are like, oh, you're asking your opponents to come over there. I'm like, that's good. That's good for me. Because if I get the nomination in 2 weeks, because I'm considered one of the front runners, maybe top 3, okay? If I get the nomination and we're on C-SPAN and we're on all these news outlets and Donald Trump's there and I'm the guy that gets the nomination after a debate, because we have a debate too, like our candidates debate on the news, that's going to be more eyes on the Libertarian Party than ever before, ever in history, in 50 years. Why would you be mad about that? Don't be mad about that. That's a good thing.
Well, I mean, legitimately, as far as libertarians go, like Donald Trump is a really bad libertarian. Yeah. So I get why there are like the pure, because look, I'm a better libertarian than Donald Trump. And there are libertarians out there that would swear to God I'm not a libertarian, right?
Sure.
So, that's just the way that it goes. So Donald Trump drawing attention, I mean, God, but they're both so far away from libertarian.
I think Trump's going to get booed and cheered.
Yeah.
He's going to get a lot of cheers and a lot of boos.
Well, you have to register for the Trump event, too, because there's like limited space. So there's like going to be outside people. It's not just going to be libertarians there. There's going to be a lot of people there. And it's essentially like Trump's own rally at the Libertarian Party convention.
I was going to say, I would assume if libertarians are maybe like, don't siphon off our voters when we need them to vote for our candidate who we just selected.
This is the truth that libertarians need to be confronted with. That we have less than 700,000 registered libertarian voters in the entire United States. Trump can reach those people on the media today, right now. He does not need to go to the Libertarian Party convention. But there's a lot of other voters there that know nothing about the Libertarian Party that will see the Libertarian Party because of Trump being there. Am I too close? Am I hot?
Yeah,
pretty
very
hot.
close.
Look, he's passionate.
My mic's starting to go out at home, and I have the same mic, and so I have to hold it real close. I apologize.
I think Trump's going to earn votes. So the idea is actually really simple. Trump does not have the Libertarian Party votes. He doesn't have. Libertarians, they want to vote Libertarian. Trump showing up, it's only a net positive. And if he can get even a tiny bit, it's just good news for him. That's why he's doing it.
I disagree.
You think he's going there to be like, I better lose votes?
He can reach all those registered voters just on the news today, right now. He doesn't have to go to the Libertarian
Outreach
Party.
matters. No, outreach matters. Outreach does matter.
Not to libertarians, buddy. Have you ever met a libertarian?
Then what is the reason?
I rue the day.
Then what is the reason Trump would actually go to the convention?
I don't know.
He's hoping to.
I'm sure he hopes, but I don't think that that's going to help. I think it's going to help the libertarian.
Even if you only have 700,000 registered libertarian, there are a lot of people who
lean libertarian,
sure. who identify with libertarian. Sure. I mean, I think of the effect that that show Parks and Recs had when they had this one Nick Offerman character who was a libertarian, and I think that brought that concept to a lot of people, a lot of young people. who would be more open to the ideas. They don't want to say they're conservative. They don't want to say they're Republican. To be like, well, but I like the libertarians. So by Trump showing up at the event, it's him saying like, I recognize that this is a philosophy that's there, and I think this is. He's going to make his case for why
there was
you
a
guys
whole
should fall
group in
line.
2016 called Libertarians for Trump. I mean, it's not like the libertarians don't know who Trump is. Like they've never seen him. They didn't live in a country that he was the president of for 4 years.
Of it.
Yeah,
And
I
think it's for the sympathetic, like the libertarian independent voter. Like he's going to be like, but look, I talked to them.
I think the more people are going to see our nominee.
I think the issue with the Libertarian Party is that it's functionally just third party, right? You've got woke libertarians, anti-woke libertarians, pro-borders libertarians, anti-borders libertarians. It's just basically a group of a bunch of different people deciding that they don't like the establishment and then operating under one banner.
Yeah, that's the problem with freedom, right? Is everybody's got it, and I said that before the show. Everybody's got a different version of what freedom is to them, and it's a big, messy, beautiful thing, really, truly, and that's how freedom would be in any country that chose to adopt it. But here's the thing: I posted on Twitter about this earlier, and Dave Smith, God bless him, said this on Twitter once too. But the thing of the simple thing about the white pill is if you have children or you plan on having children, you can't afford the black pill, right? And that's the truth. Is like I want my children to live in a society that has fewer laws than I lived in, right? More freedoms than I lived in, and so like it's going to be a messy thing. Freedom's going to be a messy thing no matter what, because everyone's got a different version of that. But we've got to continue to push towards there. I can't afford the black pill because I have children.
So many children.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer for the arguments that people that are post-liberals make? That liberalism, because I am still working through the liberalism has the flaw of liberalism takes arguments at face value, and philosophies that are not liberal are not obliged to be honest or engage in debate in any kind of way that a liberal would understand it, which is, I think, the reason why liberalism has the people that say liberalism has failed, whether they be on the left or the right. The reason is because they have allowed illiberal philosophies to beat them by using illiberal arguments, but they're trying to still be liberal. Do you have a concept of what should be done when you're dealing with people that are going to openly lie, that don't care about the truth, that essentially the sinful impulses of man, I guess?
Phil, that's what I've been doing, and the thing about it is like
what I'm saying is articulated here.
Yeah, well, the problem is, like I said it once earlier, is we're losing the war on language, and we've been losing the war on language for a long time, and a lot of that is deceitful, purposely deceitful.
Yes,
and so the best thing that we can do, and I don't consider myself a liberal, or I guess you can call libertarianism, liberalism, whatever. I don't really.
What do you subscribe
to that? I think that it's technically, to me, it's a right-wing movement, and further right than the conservatives in the United States. That's how I feel about it, and you know that we probably disagree on some things.
So philosophically, where would you say it comes from?
Philosophically, it probably was born out of classical liberalism.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And that's fine.
Okay.
But we seeded that word a long time ago.
Fair enough. I just want to know where you're
trying to bring that word back now as a libertarian is just failing us.
Because the thing I understand what you're saying about the about the language, but the point. So then, what I'm trying to get to is where your ideas are going to stem from. Is it a liberal philosophy? What kind of philosophy do you have to inform your opinions, your epistemology?
Well, I think the most important thing we can do is not mince our words anymore. I mean, we don't want to play the language game anymore. We want to use the language that's now in the now, and not try to use the historical language, because we've lost that war a long time ago. So no more mincing our words. We got to stand strong in every principle that we have, and these are the important things, because it's becoming mainstream right now. I mean, you got MMA fighters going out there talking about Reed Mises and Rothbard in their post-fight interviews. Dude.
And Argentina seems like they're having, I don't know, I haven't looked in deep, but I hear that the numbers are good now. So
I go back and forth on Milei, and I think the Bitcoin movement in Salvador, you know why I go back and forth on Milei. You know that. I think he's done some really good things. I'm not gonna fault him entirely, but we'll see how Zionist he gets. But I still like him.
He could fix Argentina, but man.
Yeah, well,
he won me over at Afuera.
That's
it.
Yeah. No, I don't hate the guy. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's done some really good things, and so I support that. I do, and I'm very clear about supporting him. I do. Now, if he starts sending taxpayer money across the world, he's not really a libertarian, is he?
I don't think that he's going to be sending taxpayer money.
Okay, I hope not.
So what does Josh Smith's presidency do for this country?
Well, first of all, I think and I talked about the first time I was on the show, the most important thing to me is the family in the United States. I think the United States has had an open war against the family, but whether it's economic policy, social policy, whether it's the actual family law in the United States right now with Title 4D, the Social Security Act, which was signed into law by Gerald Ford in 1971, that took us from a society that had 1 in 60 children living in a fatherless home to 1 in 4 just since the 70s. With that, it's been undeniable stats for increases in violent youth offenders, increases in homeless and runaway youth, increases in school dropouts and mass shootings. All this stuff is undeniably attached to the destruction of the family in the United States. So that's at the forefront of is trying to put the focus back on bringing families back together and making families have to learn how to work it out. That's the truth, because we've just given people an easy out. So
as president, you will executive order mandate people have families?
No.
I'm losing my vote right now.
Why not?
No, I would remove the title. I would work to remove Title 40 of the Social Security Act, which has paid states to separate families, where essentially the federal government pays $1 to every state that spends 88 cents on these family programs. Okay, but there's a lot of other things too. I mean, economically, we're destroying the middle class. You can't keep families together if you're destroying the middle class. The Federal Reserve is obviously a giant counterfeiting machine that's stealing our wealth through a tax called inflation. I know that's a bumper sticker, but that's the truth. It's really the prop up for the warfare state and all the worst policy in the United States. So we've got to start working to dismantle the Fed. Now the president doesn't have the power to end the Federal Reserve, but he does have the power to nominate the Fed chair. He does direct the Treasury. Maybe we don't take any more fiat currency from the Fed. There's a lot of different policies that could be worked on to start breaking down this Federal Reserve machine.
You could make Luke Rudkowski the Fed chair.
Well, I've said that it would be someone along the lines of Ron Paul, Bob Murphy, somebody like that, somebody who's really good at economics.
Bob Murphy is one of the best follows on Twitter. Yes. He's so much fun. Holy cow! He's probably the most fun economist that you can find on Twitter.
And we've got to stop the warfare state. It's disgusting. It's such a huge part of our budget. We got 12% of the population in the United States today can hardly put food on the table. Like I said, the middle class. I'm just a blue collar working class guy, right? I'm just a normal guy like everybody else running for president who might end up on all 50 ballots. So I understand how these policies affect families, because I am a big family raising kids, doing everything that everybody else. I put work boots on every morning, and so the warfare state's got to go. We can't continue to spend all of our citizens' tax money on wars that most of them don't support. It's got.
What changes first? You change culturally first or policy?
Well, so
because I think people also have learned to hate or not want to have families.
The libertarians aren't going to win until we change the culture. That's just how it's going to be. We have got to culturally move society in a direction where they understand how bad the Federal Reserve is, how bad the warfare state is, how bad gun legislation is, how bad the drug war is, how bad all these things that have been the war against the family. We got to get society to understand that stuff before they'll support a libertarian.
Here's one idea. What if you held an event called Free Cheeseburgers and Why the Fed is Bad Day?
Well, I've been doing that on Break the Cycle twice a week for 3 years. No, there's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot more libertarianism in culture now too. Like people like Phil over here, who's a musician, well known, goes out and talks about libertarian philosophy and stuff, and Eric July and people making comic books, and that's the kind of cultural stuff that we have to do if we're ever going to get to a point where we do get a libertarian elected in office.
When it comes to the family stuff, where does your libertarian presidency go with abortion?
So I actually have it. I am the only abolitionist candidate running in America today. I'm the only one who thinks that it is absolutely illibertarian to kill your child. And Tim, we're not going to argue about this, but because
let's jump to this this story from SCNR.
We can talk about it on the morning.
RFK Jr. suggests abortion should not be regulated by federal or state laws, and probably one of the most shocking and probably the most extreme position held by any federal politician, RFK Jr.'s position, saying, I mean, this is a quote, even at full term. She said, Kennedy says, I don't think it's ever okay. I think we should do everything in our power to make sure that never happens, but I ultimately think nobody sets out to do that. And there are always some kind of extenuating circumstances that would make a mother make that kind of choice, a terrible, terrible choice. You can't overstate how bad it is. I think ultimately we have to trust women. The interviewer says, even full term, to which Kennedy responds, even full term. Now, let's analyze what he said. Nobody sets out to do that. My guy, murder happens all the time. Yeah. And people do set out to do it intentionally because they want to end a life for whatever reason. What he says in this interview is basically there should be zero regulation in any way up to full term if a woman decides just trust her because no one would really do a bad thing like that. I don't think there's any other federal level politician who's taken that extreme a position.
I think mine's the opposite extreme.
That is the most naive position any president has ever. I've heard any president in this.
It's insane.
It's like, oh, no one would do that.
It happens all the time. What are you
That
talking
is
about?
that is the most. That is
Colorado.
childish.
Tim, are you
Childish
becoming more
to-
pro-life in real time right now?
What does that mean?
I
My
don't know.
position's the same as it's always been. But like
You're pro-life, right?
I've never been of the position that should be
I'm
unrestricted.
anti-human sacrifice.
Yeah.
I've never held the position that at any point for any reason a woman can just
Sure.
kill a baby. And I've said every single time we've talked about it that elective abortion is wrong.
This is Ralph Northam level. Like, we'll keep him calm.
This is beyond.
It's
It's
worse.
It's crazy.
Ralph
well, he
Northam-
was saying, yeah.
But no, what it really
There's
is
some
cowardice.
regulation in that.
Yeah.
What it is cowardice. It's because he's afraid to say anything that would offend the Democrats or the pro-abortion lobby.
So he has to go so hard in
Yeah.
the other direction
Yeah.
to win them back because they think
Yeah.
he's a conspiracy theorist.
I mean, he's
or the-
unacceptable
Yeah.
anyways. Like, he's unacceptable across the board.
Totally.
All of the stuff all of the things that people like about him are positions that he's come to in the past 2 years
Yes.
because
Less-
of
less
COVID.
than 2 years.
That's why I also don't trust
like
the
that
vape.
is unacceptable.
In
Unacceptable.
2021, he was still stumping for lockdowns for
Brainworms. Get outta here.
environmental
Yes.
reasons.
He's
Get
Hollywood.
outta
He's
here.
Hollywood Catholic.
Yeah,
like
well-
just like Biden. He seems like he's crawling out of the womb of liberalism, like in the bad sense liberalism, not good
Are
liberalism.
we just finding out who the Kennedys are today?
No,
I mean-
but there's things.
I was anti-Kennedy from the first moment
Well,
that he
I
came
like
on.
things
I was
that
like,
some
okay, it's
Kennedys have
interesting.
done. I like JFK saying no to Northwoods.
Yeah, that was
like,
good.
There's
That was
things
good,
that they've done that are nice, but he's also
He didn't make it long after saying no to
I wonder
Northwoods, that's for
why.
sure. I don't know.
I wonder
but-
why. But like he says things I really liked. Also because I think he understands. Oh, I think he should understand the CIA and how they operate.
Yes.
When it comes to his
Yeah.
dad and all that stuff. But I just see him
Let's
pandering.
I want to find that point. I think it's
Dude,
near the end.
He was
I'll
a
play it.
serial- right
serial.
around
He's
there.
a serial cheater. So I wonder if that's
is
why
it?
he's pro-abortion. You know.
I mean,
Is he really?
he's had a pretty
Completely.
rough life.
It's up to the
I
woman.
believe is a way we should
But
leave
nothing
it to the
he says in
woman. We
that
shouldn't
preamble that
have
you read,
government
Tim.
involved,
Sorry.
Even if it's full term.
even if it's full term.
Ugh.
Okay. And I think that's what I wanted to clarify because they're
I'm
especially.
gonna play that again for you.
Right.
Oh, I
So to leave, so in other words, keeping it as is with Roe versus Wade having been overturned and leaving it up to the states to determine if and when a woman can have an abortion.
No, I wouldn't leave it to the states.
Right.
No, I would.
You would say completely. It's up to the
my
woman.
belief is a way we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have government involved,
even if it's full term.
even if it's full term.
Okay. And I think that's what I wanted to clarify because they're especially people in the middle trying to.
Yo, we're wow.
Disqualified.
Male
Sorry.
feminists
That's
are the
crazy.
worst.
Dude, nothing he says in that preamble leading up to it where he's dancing around the idea, it's all negated
Yeah.
by the even full term.
Yes, even full term.
It- He's
this
out.
is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
He's like, and we'll just trust women. Dude, some women deliver their babies and throw it in a dumpster.
A million babies are aborted every year in the United States. A million.
But how many instances, we can look this up per year, how many instances have occurred where women will have a baby and throw it in a dumpster?
It happens a lot.
It happens enough to where...
And toilets.
And and garbage bags. There was that woman who had the baby and then the mom and her, they killed it or whatever.
Yeah.
What was that story?
Oh.
And then he's
Arizona
like...
or New Mexico.
And he's like, just trust them. Just trust the women. Like, dude, look, I don't think the majority of women are set out to murder their babies in these kinds of ways. I actually think a lot of women would rather not get an abortion, and society's pressuring them in this direction. That's besides the point.
Yeah, sorry. Any
If you're-
presidential candidate that says trust women is automatically disqualified.
Yeah.
Well, I think what
But if the point is, he's like, well, no one really wants to do this. I'm like, yo, some guy in New York threw a belt around a woman's neck, dragged her
Yeah.
behind a car, and then raped her. Is that what happened?
Oh, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Like-
on video. It's on
There
video.
are people who do want to do these awful things.
Yeah.
That's what government does.
Right.
But hey, I'll give it to this. It's very libertarian, right? And I mean this in the most dry
I
sense.
disagree.
In the
Yeah.
dry sense of the anti-government word, the government being like, we literally just won't even enforce laws.
I think one of the important things to note with the stories you get about like girls who toss their babies in dumpsters or whatever else is they're also part of a culture that says having a kid ruins your life. It's over after this. And so I think it's crazy that we have this narrative of like, yeah, they're under terrible circumstances. Quote from RFK, when actually the terrible circumstances are like, you might not get to go to college. You might have to take on more
Yeah.
responsibility at a young age. Like, it's not common. It's not the majority of people who have abortions who are really in dire straits. They have all kinds of issues. It's a thing that culture has told us you should do because otherwise you have to become responsible. Like, what a concept.
I want to say there's another part in this interview as well that's not being talked about here. And this is the funny part is he says he's for full-term abortions. He's for full-term abortions. But we need to make it so that women feel like they don't have to make abortions. So he's also talking about using more taxpayer money for more services to take care of women. Also saying that women should be able to commit baby murder and up through full term is how that's how I look at it. I don't mince words on this anymore. I'm done. I'm done with it. I don't do it anymore.
That's why I started calling it human sacrifice.
Yeah, I don't call. Yeah, that's even better. Maybe I'm the only abolition candidate running in the United States today.
So you're too close to the mic and you're too far away.
Oh, still.
Sorry,
trying to
I'm going to
signal
start
to Shane
screaming
earlier.
human
That's your
sacrifice.
head.
I
more.
know. I'm because it's loud in mine, and so I'm trying to keep up. That's why. Maybe I'll just
They
take
don't even
one.
know what they're
I'll
doing,
take
right?
one off,
No.
and it'll be better that way. So.
No, I mean, I think there is this policy issue of like on what level of government do you regulate this, but I also think the cultural issue of like we have raised generations, especially of women, to look at children and families as this negative burden that is, going to make them have to do all these things they don't want to do or whatever else. And for the most part, it's inaccurate. It doesn't really represent how people want to live, but it also creates this negative hostility that makes I just hate that abortion is the woman's issue. I think women have a lot of interest. I think they have a lot of things that could change their life, and they have boiled it down to like, but if you aren't allowed to get rid of your baby, your life is over.
Real quick, I just got to give a shout out to Old Sticky Keytain super chat. He said his brain worm died. Poor guy starved to death.
So
Nice.
I like that.
Nice. Well, look,
So
I look-
Hannah Claire,
oh,
you
no.
said abortion is a women's issue.
They made it the women's
Okay,
issue.
so
They
let me,
don't
listen,
actually
I
put
have,
it.
I have very good news for you. The issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution.
That's
So-
true, but this is how they're selling it to women to
Then
join the revolution,
for now,
right?
for the moment, because remember, as soon as they threw women under the bus, as soon as the women with the penises showed up,
And the women
I
welcomed
love-
these women. Like, it's
But-
crazy to me.
I love this narrative where it's like, don't be Republican. What if you need to kill your baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's a good point.
I can't be Republican. I have to be able to kill my progeny. You know,
Yeah.
like I think it's disgusting.
It's the
a
same
disgusting
group of
practice.
culture that is like, you should 100% freeze your eggs because what if you wanted to work until you're 45?
Yeah.
Also, what if you accidentally get pregnant and then you should have to be able to get rid of that baby? Like,
I got it.
What is it here, team?
I solved it. Okay, if a woman wants to get an abortion, you just take the baby out and freeze it. There you go.
Yeah.
You can freeze it for a later date.
People do that. They'll like conceive children and they put them on ice. I mean, that's
yeah.
part of
Read
IVF
every-
sometimes.
Well, you can take a baby out of a woman
Not a
and put it in
full-born baby, but like a
Eggs.
conceived,
Fertilized
a
eggs.
fertilized
the baby's
egg.
Fertilized
being
egg.
born, and she's like, can I freeze it?
And
Didn't that
usually
happen to
that's
Walt
used for
Disney?
people the IVF is typically used for people that have problems giving birth. I mean,
I'm saying
that's
like a
really
woman walks in the clinic and
being
she's like,
pregnant.
Conceiving.
hey, I'm 4 weeks pregnant. They're like, we will take that thing out and we'll put it in the freezer.
In 1956, they were freezing hamsters for like I think an hour, and then
Bring 'em back.
microwaving them,
Yeah.
putting them and bringing them back to life, resuscitating them.
With a microwave?
Yeah,
It's
it's like a radiant.
Look it up. It's a
something
microwave.
radiant,
It might be
yeah.
a special microwave, but I'm calling it a
So
microwave.
the frogs out here, those little frogs are
they
called
gay?
spring peepers.
Are they gay
And no, they're based.
we got good water here.
Oh, you guys got you got based frogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spring peepers, dude. These are little 1-inch frogs, and they scream really loud.
Oh,
They're
geez.
basically yelling at the ladies, but they have super high glucose in their blood, so they don't freeze. They just slow down and then don't move, and then
Right.
when it gets warm, they just come right back.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
That's based.
How do we change the? So I don't.
We got to
think
put the
that-
sugar in the baby when it's born, and then put it in the freezer.
Put it in the freezer. And a microwave.
I think it's going to be impossible
Solved.
to change abortion from the top down, although I think we need to get rid of
See, I
human
disagree.
sacrifice. I think we need to do it, but I don't know if it's going to fix everything overnight. Like, how do you do the cultural from the bottom up?
I look at the government. Look, so as a libertarian, I think the only libertarian position is that if a government must exist, it has to exist to protect the life and rights of its citizens. That's
Right.
it. I mean, that's what the government should be do. And the right to life extends to all people, including the unborn child. Okay,
Right.
so like a government should say that it should be illegal to murder.
I agree with you.
Period.
I feel like outlawing it, which I agree with, will cause deranged people to do it more in other ways.
It should be dangerous.
So
It
let
should
me
be- yeah,
let me
it
ask you a
should be
couple
dangerous.
questions. Let's say there's a person and they're riding their bike, and then another person riding his bike jumps off the back of a tow truck, does a sick flip and tail whip, and then as he's landing, the tail of the bike hits the other guy in the head, knocking him down to the ground. He hits his head again, and then they bring him to the hospital, and this guy is his brain is gone. He's brain dead, just lying there. Do you think the law should mandate that person be kept alive?
I think that, man, that's a tough one. No, I don't think the law should mandate that person be kept alive because they have they have zero life left. I mean, their life is gone. Once your brain dead, I mean, technically you're almost legally dead at that point.
Like it's like the Terry Schiavo thing. Like,
right.
Person's in a coma with a feeding tube, and they're like, we don't think this person is here anymore. We don't think they can come back from this.
I think at that point, your family should decide how much suffering they're willing to let you do. But when it's a baby, that's not suffering. That's a new life being born. There's a this is apple and oranges argument.
I disagree. The issue with people who are comatose is the doctors don't really know for certain.
Sure.
I mean, there's certainly circumstances where, like, this guy, his brain is jello. Like, but there are a lot of circumstances where people have been saying.
There's not a lot. It's very rare. When people are brain dead and comas like that, it's very rare they come back.
But it's also not uncommon for doctors to be wrong. And so,
it's one of the biggest causes of death in the United States.
And so it absolutely is malpractice. Yeah. So the issue then becomes, do you trust the doctor when he's giving medical advice saying this person is no longer with us? And then you run into a similar problem with abortion, where there are many women who say the doctor told them your kid is not viable, it will die, you need an abortion, and then they said you're wrong, and they had the kid, and the kid's healthy and 20 years old.
Yeah.
So the challenge I see there is giving discretion to end life. Now, with someone who's an adult or older or any capacity, like a teenager or whatever, they end up dependent upon a machine to live. Someone's got to pay for that. Resources have to come from somewhere. That's a challenge. With a woman who's pregnant, her body is already sustaining the baby. So as long as she's eating and living, the baby is going to grow and be nurtured. I just think there is a similarity there in at what point do we allow a medical practitioner or a state to determine that a life can be ended? Well,
first of all, I want to start this off saying that like 1% of abortions in the United States are medically necessary. Okay. So we're talking like 99% of abortions in the United States today are not medically necessary. That baby would thrive and grow and be human. Yeah. They're elective. Okay?
It's contraception.
There's a huge, and I'm going to keep saying it's apples and oranges because it's a completely different argument. We're talking about somebody who is brain dead, in a coma, cannot support their life anymore.
You're exaggerating the position.
Okay.
A person who is in a coma and presumed brain dead could recover. Should a doctor, a fallible man, say, we can pull the plug? I hereby determine in my expertise as a doctor, I think he can't recover. And then we're supposed to take his word for it. That's the issue.
How is that the same as knowing that a baby is growing and going to grow up to be a human being and a doctor saying this person is brain dead?
Well, you're making a probabilistic argument. The baby likely will not suffer a traumatic brain injury during birth. The baby will likely have a fully functioning brain and no disabilities. The baby will likely not. There are babies that are born brain dead. There are babies. There was actually a baby that was born without a brain. It had only a cerebellum.
There's babies born with all kinds of different birth defects for sure. And so that's also not the norm. The norm
you're making
for
a
people
probabilistic argument.
But the norm for people that are brain dead are dead.
Right. So again, you're exaggerating the position. I'm saying there's a person who is by all appearances comatose, and the doctor says this person will not recover. I'm not saying that I'm saying there's a chance. We don't know the person could recover. It's happened.
Sure.
So the question then becomes, and by all means, hold the position it's probabilistic. Fine. If there is a 10% chance the person recovers, do we say you can't kill him? If it's a 0.001% chance,
I certainly wouldn't say that we should kill somebody with a 99% chance of survival like we would with 99% of the babies that are
right. But
aborted.
If it's a 99% chance of death, you're okay with it.
I mean, if there's a 99% chance and a medical professional is telling you this person is never going to come back, and there's 1%, at that point it's got to be up to the family to decide.
So then, how would you deal with when it comes to abortion law? A doctor just going, "You want to get an abortion? I hereby sign this baby has a 99% chance of death, so we're good. Doctor says so. Kill the baby."
Doesn't that sound like a medical malpractice suit waiting to happen plus a murder charge? In my opinion.
Oh, sure. I mean,
they'll find ways to prove it. I mean, if we got, if you make it a mandate, like to where these doctors have to go to jail for performing abortions, there's going to be ways to prove it. I mean, it's got to be a criminal justice thing. If we prosecute murders, right? Look, we prosecute anybody can murder today, right now, right? And we prosecute murderers.
Yeah, the idea that a doctor could make a mistake and then you're going to find intent on that. The issue becomes, like many people have said, the issue with no-fault divorce. I've said no-fault divorce is bad. The response is, without no-fault divorce, women will falsely accuse their husbands of rape, and how do you deal with that?
Women already do that.
And
now.
That's right.
Even
and
with no-fault divorce.
And it'll get substantially worse. I don't think that's an argument. I think we should still get rid of no-fault divorce. No. If you don't want to get married, don't get married. But the issue then is not that it's the majority position, not that you shouldn't ban abortion. I'm saying, simple question, how do you deal with doctors who lie? Is it we try to investigate them? I think the reality is if you say a doctor can give medically necessary abortions will always be permitted. Like, look, the baby's going to die and you're going to die. Doctor says so.
No, I think only if a woman's going to die. I think that's the cutoff point. To me, that's the abolitionist, and that's it has to be
not
proven.
If the baby's going to die.
I mean, the doctors say that the babies aren't going to survive all the time, and they do. So why would we risk murdering somebody just because there's a chance they might not make it? I mean, that's insane. It's an insane. If we really get to like the crux of this argument in the United States today about this thing, like it's really disgusting. It's really disgusting to think about the fact that we treat unborn children as like completely expendable. Completely expendable in the United States today.
So if a woman is pregnant and the baby has no brain.
If the baby has no brain, I mean, if the baby's developing with no brain, then the baby's not alive. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. That baby's not alive.
Baby's got no lungs.
That baby's not alive. You don't survive without lungs.
Okay, so now we're getting to it. So you are saying there are many circumstances in which a doctor's orders could result in abortion of the baby.
I don't. I mean, yeah. If the baby's it's an ectopic pregnancy that I mean, you're going to know that within 6 weeks.
This is literally what I was asking.
Max.
This is literally what I'm asking.
But here's the thing: is we're throwing up all these different hypotheticals. The fact of the matter is that 99% of abortions are elected. They're elected. So we're talking 1 million babies a year, okay? 99% of those are elective abortions where there was nothing wrong with the baby. The mother wasn't going to die, okay? There wasn't even rape or incest or whatever it is that the left throws at you when you say that murder should be illegal, okay? So we're talking about hypotheticals.
So you ban it.
I would ban it. Yes, absolutely. I'm the only abolition candidate running today in the United States because I think that murder is wrong and it should stay wrong, and we need a society.
And no exemptions or some exemptions. What's the exemptions for the life of the baby?
If it's going to kill the mother, then it should be medically necessary. That's it.
Nothing on the baby.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Okay, so there are scenarios where like a baby will have no heart or something like this. It'll be developing improperly.
You're going to know that. I mean, there might be some medical. There might be some medical necessity where because first of all, if a baby's forming with
you're basically taking Louisiana's position because that's what Louisiana has a ban on abortion, except for medically. I forget what the term is, but
it's got to be full. It's got to be provably medically necessary. Otherwise, we're murdering people. I mean, that's really the truth of the situation in the United States today is we're murdering unborn babies every day, 1 million a year. That's got to stop. And if we don't have somebody who's going to stand up and denormalize this practice, and so we can get into all the hypotheticals you want, that's fine. But the truth of the matter is that 99% of the babies murdered in the United States today are perfectly fine, healthy babies.
This is what I find frustrating is I get it. You can say it 1 million times. I'm trying to understand what is the practical application of a law you would make. What does it do? How does it affect society? Just saying abortion is bad, we want to get rid of it. Totally agree, totally get it. Now
you do agree. You agree that we should get rid of
elective abortions are bad. I've said them all the time. Nice. Yeah, I think. I
thought you were more pro-choice than that before when we had argued before.
Yeah, the issue being that in the case of rape and incest, I think where we would be, regardless of my opinion on what you should or shouldn't allow someone to do, is that the 14th Amendment would require a judge to sign off on every abortion. That is not what I think society should be doing, but that is what the Constitution.
We don't typically punish the children of criminals by death either. So that's something that we need to think about in society as well. When we're talking about exceptions, we don't typically punish the children of criminals.
The 14th Amendment needs to be. The Supreme Court needs to answer this: are the unborn persons?
Right.
Because it draws a distinction between what a citizen and what a person is under the Constitution, and that persons cannot have their life, liberty, or property taken or hindered without due process.
Do you get a double homicide if you kill a pregnant woman?
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. It depends on the state.
So, I mean, there's definitely places where they've already said that's a person.
If that's the case, then the unborn have personhood, and a judge will have to sign off on the approval of an abortion. And that's the 14th Amendment. I believe the 14th Amendment, interpreted properly, would ban abortion in almost all circumstances. Here's what I don't like about conservatives is that they say rape and incest. And I say, why is incest banned? A rape I get, you're making an argument about a woman who did not consent to give her body and the government being restricted on whether it can force that woman to give her body to someone else. But incest?
Right.
Like if a brother and a sister have a kid, I mean, it's gross and it's bad for a lot of reasons.
It's degenerate as hell.
Well, and
But
some
do you
people for a
sentence the
long
baby
time
of
felt
incest
like
to death?
if a baby born of incest would have all kinds of health issues.
Right.
Like it wouldn't
Not
be
an
able to
argument.
recover.
Not-
I'm
not-
not saying I agree. I've
right,
just
I'm
heard
saying,
that as presented.
When the conservatives say rape and incest, I'm saying the incest thing has no moral argument other than icky.
Yep. Yeah.
Like there's negative consequences, dramatic negative consequences to incest. But if we're talking about two consenting siblings, which I think is a bad thing, and they have a baby, why make an exception to kill that baby in the circumstances, irrespective of its medical conditions? If the argument is if the baby is suffering from severe deformity, it opens the door to it. Well, then we have a medical argument. But if the issue is the baby appears to be healthy in every way, but it's an incest baby, so kill it, that doesn't make sense.
Here's my last point on this, because I know you and I like to argue this every time I come here. It's usually on the members only show, but here's my last point on this is that we let the left throw these the same hypotheticals that other people bring up too, the rape, the incest, the medical necessity. We're talking about less than 1% of those abortions. We let the left beat us on these issues with 1% hypothetical. Okay, we let the left beat us on these issues. We've got to stand strong in these. We got to stop mincing words. We got to not lose the war on language. And the only way to do that is to call it what it is. It's baby murder, and it's become normalized in the United States, and we've got to stop it.
I'm actually really surprised. A lot of people in the chat are pro-choice.
Oh, I'm sure that there's probably libertarians watching.
They're saying
that,
I'm wrong, and if a baby is conceived of incest, it should be aborted. There should be an exception to kill it.
Yeah, well, those people are
would you agree?
wrong.
But if a baby is conceived of incest, you shouldn't kill it, right?
I don't think you should kill it.
I don't think you should kill babies at all.
I think it's
I've been very clear about that.
Do you know where I think we're going to have?
I don't think I've gotten any clear. I don't think I can be any clearer. I don't think babies should be murdered.
I honestly think the incest question will become more prevalent over the next couple decades because there are so many cases of sperm donors who are like, you hear these cases of like fertility doctors who use their sperm and suddenly they're like, I have 500 siblings and we actually all grew up in the same state. Like, I wonder if this will be something
you guys
we
are right
confront
here
as a
in
society.
West Virginia. You can just do a poll.
Hey.
I think the thing that I find frustrating with the abortion issue is that I typically find a lot of people are unwilling to state their actual opinions on how to do it because there's no. It is the moral equivalent of like a gigantic spear. There's no fence. There's no dead man's land. There's no middle ground. There's no compromise. There is either the abortion side or the no abortion side. And so there's a lot of people in politics. We had one guy on the show who refused to say abortion was murder. And pro-life guy, and because he's worried about the
optics,
right,
of what it's going to be when people see him say that, how it affects him.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Listen, this is when Donald Trump came out with this kind of wishy-washy.
I know Carrie Lake did it too.
Yeah, they all came out with these wishy-washy things, and then all of a sudden the Republicans were like, "Well, it's an issue we can't win on," and I said very clearly too. Look, if you can't,
guys. I'm sorry. Like the chat is
fine.
Is very adamant that
it says a lot about the culture.
It says a lot about the culture.
Pro-life people are saying if babies are conceived of incest, they should be aborted.
Listen to me.
If you think it's murder,
if you're going to be wishy-washy on this issue because you think you can't win on this issue, then you don't deserve to win. I'm sorry.
I completely agree.
If you're running for a government position and you can't win on protecting unborn lives, then you shouldn't win. I'm sorry, you should lose.
I mean, it's ridiculous to me that Trump and Carrie Lake are now just saying safe, legal, and rare in a new 2024 way.
They're parroting the left. We're losing that war because we keep compromising on these issues.
This is what I think though. Like, no offense to all the politicians, but like nothing's going to fix it because this has to be a cultural thing. Because we're dealing with a cult of nihilism,
and you can't win the culture war if you mince your words and start saying the same narrative as your opponents.
It's
not going to work.
It's going to have to come from the bottom up.
The chat's getting really mad because I'm reading and I said, why is there an exception? Why do conservatives have an exception for incest? And they're all saying, Tim, you're wrong. You're wrong about this position. And I'm like, okay, so you're saying that babies of incest should be aborted or could be aborted? And I'm like, no, we're not saying that at all. It's like, I know not each individual is saying things, but like overwhelmingly people are saying, I am wrong to suggest that when like I've heard Ben Shapiro talk about it, abortion exceptions for rape and incest. And I'm like, why incest? Like I get it. Incest is very bad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a Ben Shapiro joke. That's all right.
But
I'm not going to make a Ben Shapiro and his sister joke. I'm not going to do it.
I do think too, outside of this, like let's just like move into general politics for like libertarianism and otherwise. Is a lot of people just want to assert a moral position they haven't thought about, or they hold moral positions without logic. And so if, I'm trying to look at a law and understand the logic behind it and why it makes sense, because two pieces have to fit together. That's important for how the Supreme Court answers things. For example, in the oral arguments on presidential immunity, one of the things that Trump's lawyers were arguing is that you must interpret it this way, because if you don't, here's a list of laws that will break if you change the interpretation of immunity. And the general concept idea is arguing one facet of law or code or anything like that could have negative impacts across the board in all of the other written law. So that's why the logic of the law makes sense, and the application of it and its nuances are extremely important to break down. But a lot of people will be like, you shouldn't be allowed to do this thing. And I say, okay, if you ban this, then over here, this law breaks. So what do you do in this instance? And there are a lot of people who don't actually have a logic plan for this.
It's what Thomas Sowell says, though. There's no solutions, only trade-offs.
What exemptions do we make for murder?
Self-defense.
Correct. Right.
Defense of yourself and defense of others.
Sure. So so we should make those same exceptions for baby murder. If you're gonna die or you're in grave bodily danger, then there should be an exception. If not, it's murder.
Well, that's interesting too, because here's a scenario for you. A guy is how can we break this down? A guy is driving a self-driving car, and the car goes out of control. Oh, actually, I got a real world example. A guy was driving a car. This actually happened, and the car randomly accelerated. There was a defect with certain vehicles where the accelerator would just punch it. And he rear-ended a family and killed 3 of the family members.
Right.
They put him in prison. Someone's driving a car, and the car goes out of control. You as a bystander are seeing the car move towards an old lady. Do you think it is legally permissible to kill the man in the car? The only way to stop him is to, do something that will cause...
This is an old argument brought up by Walter Block a long time ago, by the way.
So the reason I'm mentioning is that you said the self-defense for the life, to defend the life of a person, or right to defend yourself or the life of another person.
Do you have the right to kill an innocent person to protect other people? It's the trolley car problem, right? It's the same.
Well, I don't know. I don't think innocent person is the right word. I'm saying...
if he's in a car that malfunctioned, it's an accident, and he's an innocent person.
So someone accidentally, it drops something and it's about to kill somebody, and the only way you can save the other person is to kill the person who was involved in the accident, right?
Right.
The car is out of control. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not intentionally trying to kill someone. Is it still self-defense to kill that person, even though there's no murder?
Probably
no
not, because you're still killing an innocent person. Now, if the people in the other car were my family, I'm probably going to do it, right? Just like you would murder somebody to protect your family. But this is getting totally to the trolley car conundrum, right? Like, where do I have the right to kill the one person to save the 5 people?
It's Jack Bauer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and no, you don't. Morally, you don't have the right to kill an innocent person, even if you think it's going to save other lives. And now we're getting into World War II territory and the atomic bombs, and which has also been an argument.
Another
for a
thing
long
I don't
time.
agree with.
Yeah, so like, no, you don't. You don't have the right to kill innocent people.
Yep.
So then
morally.
the exception for abortion there does not apply.
Why?
So if the baby is not intending, is an innocent person not intending to kill the mother, why kill the baby?
At that point, you have to. So there's first of all, there's a solution, okay, and the mother has to take precedence at that point. I mean, the fully formed adult, and when you're like. We're talking about 2 different things here, right? Like, one's an accident and one is unavoidable. Someone's going to die no matter what, right? And you have an egg or a fetus, right? Depending on what stage it's in, and you have a fully formed mother with a family and all this stuff. I mean, you have to make a sad decision at that point. This is not an elect. And again, we're talking about less than 1% of abortions in the United States. So
right, but we're trying to answer.
You're trying to hash out the moral conundrum,
the moral logic of how we enforce
But
laws.
at that point, you have to choose. I mean, you have to, right? Like,
So-
one of them's going to die, or they're both going to die.
So equal scenario, the same scenario I mentioned. A guy's car is out of control. If he crashes, he and the woman will die.
Sure.
You can divert the car. The car will explode, and only the man will die. You say you divert the car.
I mean, you might have to, yeah. I mean,
if it's a foregone conclusion that they'll both die either way.
But there's also a chance that you go to jail for murdering an innocent person. I mean, it's that's truth. But you're trying to interact with a situation to save lives. I get that, and there's so many different hypotheticals that we're talking about right now. But at the end of the day, again, I want to reiterate it: 99% of baby murders are elective.
You know what's fascinating about the trolley problem is that. I just totally lost my train of thought. I had a really great point about it. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Here we are again. Okay. What's fascinating about the trolley problem is most people, what was it? Most people say they would not pull the lever.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think we actually get to the heart of the trolley problem without telling people they have legal liabilities.
Right.
I think you tell someone a trolley is heading on a track, it will run over 5 people.
Yeah.
If you pull the lever, you'll save the 5 people and it'll run over that one person.
Right.
And you'll also go to prison for murder.
Right.
Yeah. Be like, what state is this trolley in?
Right, exactly.
Well, it's crossing state lines, and so then you have to do a jurisdiction.
Let's get into the hypotheticals. I like it. Yeah, dude. There we go. Let's bring up some more hypotheticals for sure. All right, let's stop.
As of right now, it's I posted a poll. The poll in the chat is: should people be allowed to abort incest babies? 39% yes, 61% no.
We're winning, boys. We're winning.
Look, incest is disgusting.
Yeah.
But I think every life is a blessing.
If you're committing that kind of degeneracy, you really need to reevaluate your life anyways. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this kind of breaks it down. When you've got people in the chat that are saying you should be allowed to abort incest babies. That's what I was pointing to. I'm not saying everybody in the chat agrees. Now it's 40 to 60. Right. 40% now believe incest babies should be aborted.
40,
should be allowed to be aborted.
40 people that support baby murder. That's pretty rough.
40%.
40%.
That's what I said. 40%.
So it's actually 400 because there's 1,024 votes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's unfortunate.
I think it's just a cultural thing.
Sounds like
you got a lot of. Sounds like you got a lot of leftists to divorce people from the idea of abortion. You know, that's why I've been training myself to just call it human sacrifice.
I'm going to adopt that.
Because I feel like, and I say that because it happens on such a high level all the time.
There's people celebrating that the no's are winning. So I'm going to make a new poll that words it in a way that I can just decide what it means. You know, like how pollsters do it.
Yeah.
So we're at, well, here we go. You see the no's aren't having it. So now we're up to 1,400 votes and rising. And now no is at 64%.
There we go.
So the people who do not like abortion are now deciding to step up and hit that poll button.
See, now we can win on this issue.
That's why we have to have these conversations, as crazy as they might be and hard for people to listen to.
Have these conversations.
You have to have these conversations.
Because there's a lot of people out there that believe the same thing that I believe. And
you are not going to win on this one.
We're going to win on this issue.
Dude,
it's going to happen.
Death penalty. What's your position?
I'm not for the states handing down capital punishment like that.
Here.
Yeah,
the state shouldn't have that right.
I think that they get it wrong too many times, and there's an issue there. So
one time is too one
wrong death. And we brought up Kamala Harris in the beginning, and I really wanted to say, she kept someone on death row even though she had the evidence that could have exonerated him, and that's your vice president.
This is what I always tell people who are pro death penalty. I'm like, it's because look. A lot of conservatives are in favor of the death penalty, and they'll say there are child rapists out there, and we know they did it. And I'm like, I totally get that. I totally get it. The problem is, it's Kamala Harris who's trying to convince me of that. It's not my brother coming to me being like, dude, trust me, man, this guy's bad news. We got to do something about this. It's Kamala Harris,
and every single prosecution has a political element because DAs don't want to lose. Mm-hmm. There is a motivation to win that goes beyond just finding out if the person is actually guilty or innocent.
And if you haven't, if you're making your career on whether or not someone dies,
if you have a motivation, then that inherently kind of makes the state not unbiased.
Well, here, I'll tell you this: I'm all for families getting retribution against people that have harmed their children or whatever. So, and then if afterwards they find that person was not the right person, then that family member needs to take accountability for their murder of an innocent person. You know what I mean? But I'm not. I think that families that exact their own punishment or revenge against people that have harmed them should not be held liable, if that makes sense.
I think the death penalty is a really complicated issue because if you have someone, let's say it's a perfect case, you confess, you can confirm with DNA, it's all there, and then we just pay for them to be alive for decades. Like the taxpayers are then paying for this person's life.
And that's why I said make Australia a penal colony once again. Okay.
And New Zealand can be where they manage it.
Yes, it's time. We need to go back in and take over Australia and turn it into a penal colony.
To be fair, you look at what they did during COVID, and you're like, maybe they still
already are a penal
Look,
colony.
there's a reason they went that direction. It's in their history. It's in their genes.
But I really actually believe this, and maybe not Australia, but I believe this is what, instead of the death penalty and instead of using taxpayer funds to keep people in jail for 50 years, we should have a penal colony and be like, you're a pedophile or a murderer or a rapist or whatever. You go live there. Goodbye. And leave and send them. That's what we should be doing.
We
with
need
those
our own
kind of people.
Siberia. Interesting.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Goodbye.
Siberia.
Yes. Somewhere preferably that cold.
I've been to Alaska, and it is very empty.
Yeah.
And there's a big opportunity for sending all of the federal employees there because it'll start terraforming the region.
We talked about this last time on the show.
Yeah, and then the Alaskans were like, no!
And my Alaskan friend was like, please don't do that. If you somehow win in 2024.
We already have HARP. We don't need any other problems.
It's hard enough here on us already. Just let us keep our little oil type in and leave us alone.
I have successfully created a poll that allows me to give any answer I want in the abortion question.
What's your question? How do you
Should
phrase this?
incest babies be exempted from abortion law?
Oh, geez. Nobody's going to know how to answer
It's
that.
50-50.
Yeah, everybody's like, what?
Well, the point is, what the abortion law is a vague, it's a nebulous statement. It's meaningless. The abortion law could be for or against abortion.
right.
So
We've done an hour on abortion now.
It's at 54 to
We're killing it.
no. They should not be exempted from it.
I'm happy that we've done an hour on abortion. You know why?
Dude,
because we get to talk about it.
I think
it's actually been
important.
16 minutes.
Has it only been 16?
It's only been
Since
16.
we started talking
Yes.
about abortion?
No
Yeah.
way.
I have a timer.
You have an abortion timer?
I have a timer for when segments start and end.
Oh, smart.
We track them, write them down. That's how we make the segments, and then on all the
Yeah,
shows.
I
steal
don't
that
know.
idea.
I'm just
All
done,
these
I'm
trade
done
secrets
compromising.
tonight.
And
I'm done
we're
compromising.
we actually shifted into a death penalty.
Yeah, we did
segment.
shift into the death penalty. That's true. That's true. Yeah. 'Cause
He's
if
a
you're-
professional,
If
this
you're going to
guy.
be pro-life, you got to be pro-life, right?
Across the board.
And that's whenever somebody's like, "Oh, I'm pro-life," I'm like, "Are you anti-war?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "No." I'm like,
Like I'm pro-life, but I love bombs and war. Yeah,
I like
know.
bombs and innocent dead children across the world. Yeah,
Like,
no,
children
no.
everywhere else. It's whatever.
Yeah, no big deal.
No,
So,
I'm not for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
anti-war,
I don't like it.
anti-death penalty, but I'm all for a penal colony for sure.
Do you think?
We guys, we got to talk about the solar flare. I mean, we
Oh, geez.
have to.
We got
Yeah.
10 minutes before super chats, and we haven't even got into the fact that the world's going to end tonight, and
the,
we're here laughing like morons.
There are already significantly impressive pictures
Auroras?
of auroras
I
hitting
was
up
looking
Twitter.
at it.
They're all over the place. I've been.
You mean
looking
so
at
there's
them.
already significant
apparently we can see them outside
photoshops?
right now. They
Oh,
say
really?
they might be so strong that you can see them through the clouds.
Space
they're saying.
lasers.
really through
Yeah.
the whoa.
So what are these, Shane? Tell me.
Well, HARP is attacking me directly, I think.
a little narcissistic. It's about you.
Yeah, that's posted every day.
Yeah,
nonstop.
That guy makes great pizzas. Cannibal is the word of the year. Has anyone noticed this? Like, it's funny to me that the solar problem is now the cannibal thing. We had the cannibal the barbecue in Haiti.
Oh, that's right.
We had
He's still hanging out.
that one actor like a year or two ago who was a cannibal supposedly. When I was in Vegas, a man ate someone's face at the 7-Eleven down the road.
On bath salts.
Yeah, I don't even know. I think he was just hungry.
Bath salts,
I don't know. It was bath salts.
Well,
A lot of hungry
grocery
people,
prices
yeah.
are crazy
And now the son's
these
a cannibal.
days.
Let me tell you, I know. My Costco bill went from $800 a month to about $1,200.
But that's because you have like a baseball team
yeah,
to
but
feed.
can you imagine the
Yeah.
inflation on a family like mine right now? It's killing us.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this. It's crazy because it could do some damage, but it might just be another eclipse. You know, where everyone freaks out about.
We're just
nothing
a
happens.
couple of months out from an election. Okay, they need
Yeah.
some kind of wild thing to point to, right? Look, we're laughing at the COVID regime now, right? We're
Yep.
all laughing at them. We're like, we're definitely not falling for
Yep.
this again. So the next best thing is turn off all the internet.
Well, they've been talking about the internet apocalypse for a year,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they've been connecting it to solar flares,
course
which
they
I
have.
don't think, from what I've heard from other people who hit me up about this, that's not really the case with solar flares. Like, it might actually take out ham radios first,
Yeah.
but that's according to people who say they know stuff.
Take your antennas
That's
up.
according
Take
to
your
people
antennas
who
off
say
the
they
radios.
know stuff.
so
Amazing
you don't-
description.
Hey.
Yeah.
So if you've got like ham radios and stuff, disconnect your antennas so that way they're not. You know,
Here's the crazy thing,
antennas
though.
are antennas and wires and cables and stuff are what actually conduct the electricity and stuff. So
Ham radio runs on the same technology as 5G.
Interesting.
It's like this.
What?
It was like the original. Yeah, and
Are you
don't make
sure?
me get
Original
technical on
5G?
here.
Are you sure though?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because I'm
It's-
pretty sure 5G
Let's look it up.
They're all radio
is a
waves.
super high frequency. Well, ham is a low frequency. I thought ham was low and 5G is high.
Ham is
5G is a short
VHF and is UHF and VHF, which are very in ultra high frequencies.
Yes.
Yeah, 5G frequencies are super compact to contain a lot of data.
Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that they have a very similar technology.
Welcome to Science Fridays on IRL.
Mystery Science Theater.
They're all actually the same technology except for the
It's all the same,
all radio
especially
waves.
when you don't understand it.
It's just
Who even
rebranded.
knows? It's all magic.
Rebranded
Magnetic
energy.
waves, you know.
And then Harry Potter just shoots
science.
one to the air, and then
so-
we got the
so-
lesson.
so,
I still understand science.
yes, I know.
Okay.
All right.
So
Tim's got
ham radio is 1.6 megahertz to 1,240 megahertz. 5G is 450 megahertz to 6 gigahertz.
That's very high.
Which
So it
is
goes higher.
We can go back to HARP frying the
But there's an
ionosphere,
overlap.
Yeah. There's
with its hertz, with its frequencies, and I just think HARP is a problem. I think when you play God with machines,
What is it? What is HARP?
It's the
It's
high
bouncing
frequency
radio waves
auroral
off the ionosphere, or what?
ionosphere. Yeah, which does I think, and I've talked to people who believe this as well, who know things, Hannah Claire, about.
I just think that's a hilarious
about
description.
cryptochromes in birds' eyes, migratory birds' eyes. They've been affected by problems with the ionosphere. I think personally that HARP is messing with that. Like, look at messing with the clouds in Dubai. What happened? I think when you play God, it doesn't
that's
go,
wild.
It doesn't
That
go
is
well.
wild, yeah.
So this is like, there's a bunch of news stories saying it's debunked, but Dubai did a cloud seeding operation, which they do normally. It's what is it, potassium chloride or something?
Yeah.
They drop in the sky, which basically adds weight to the water molecules, and then they fall.
Yeah.
And then they had mass flooding.
Yeah.
And I think it was Bloomberg that reported cloud seeding causes mass or contributes to the mass flooding, causing a disaster. And then a day later, all these corporate press outlets are like, no, debunked, didn't happen.
Shills for Big Cloud. If you know anything about Big Cloud,
Here
there's
we
shills.
go.
But I won't get started on that. But I'm just saying, when you mess around with stuff like this, and it's just interesting to me that they called it HARP, which angels in the Bible don't
Right.
play the harp.
Right.
But people do associate angels with harps, probably because Greek mythology and a lot of those types of angelic figures were playing harps. They shouldn't be messing around with the ionosphere.
I don't know if that's crazier or the particle.
Dude, don't get me started on CERN. If you want to hear more about this, Inverted World Live will be this Sunday.
Yeah, maybe
These
I'll
are the
come
things
on
that
there.
concern
I'll
me.
come on your show
These are the
sometime.
things
We'll
that
talk.
concern me.
I would love to come talk about that stuff.
Because it's
CERN,
all
for sure.
messing. I think there were actual lawsuits about CERN.
There was a whole conspiracy theory that the world ended in like 2012. We're all living in
Yes.
purgatory right now, and that's why the whole thing is. That's
possible.
That's why the whole thing is different. Like that's why they're having the Mandela effect.
Last time CERN was supposedly blasting particles, Shinzo Abe was assassinated, and that same week the Guidestones were blown up.
That is also wild too. The Guidestones blew up. Did they rebuild those?
Well, I did talk to the guy who collected the debris from the Guidestones, and he was weird. Like, why would you want? He was putting them in his museum. He wants to rebuild them, but everyone in that area doesn't want to rebuild them because everyone in that area, most of the locals believe that they're bad because they're eugenicist propaganda.
And nobody really knows who made them, who paid for them.
Yeah, well, it depends who you talk to.
Yeah.
No,
There's
there's an official
There's the RC Christian guy,
Right.
which was a pseudonym supposedly. Which
The argument is, at the height of the Cold War, there was a fear that we'd wipe ourselves out in nuclear annihilation. So they created the Guidestones in the event humanity get blown up. However, that doesn't happen. People look back on them and they look at it now as a plan to enact, as opposed. So it's either
Sorry, that just doesn't sound as cool, Tim. We're gonna have to go with the original conspiracy theory that it was a plan.
no. That's actually the later conspiracy.
I know.
right.
Originally, it was, hey, we might all die in a nuclear annihilation. Here's how you restart the Earth. And the crazy thing is, it's got like, didn't it have? I say it's gone. Didn't it have like a thing to track the sun's position?
Yeah, it
and
had a
like
hole in it.
math and stuff on it.
Yeah, all the different languages, and then there was a time capsule supposedly, but all the police told me there was no time capsule when they dug it up after
Really?
they bulldozed it.
The languages thing is really important because of the Rosetta Stone, for instance.
Yes.
We're like, basically, we don't know what the Egyptians were saying. There's a picture of a snake 7 times.
Right.
And then we find the Rosetta Stone and we're like, yo, we can translate Greek to
Yeah.
Egyptian now.
Supposedly there's a replica in Japan still. I don't know.
Of the Guidestones?
That's what I've been hearing. I haven't seen the images, but it was interesting to me that Shinzo Abe was taken out around the same time. But that's just me. I'm the Charlie Day meme with the guy and all the things connecting. That's my brain. But I don't think we should be messing with any of that
The
stuff.
photos of the storm, it's already crazy. And it's wild because it's red.
Yeah,
I went
that's wild.
to Alaska in December, and right when we landed in Fairbanks, right when we got out of the airport, we looked up and I was like, oh, hey, look at that. And it was minus 30. So I've got icicles forming all over my face, and the rental car key didn't work because it was frozen. Wow. And so Allison is like, get a picture. And I'm like, I'm going to turn the car on and worry about it. And then as soon as the car turned on, it was gone.
Yeah.
And then we didn't see it again. Yeah.
Messed up.
We had a negative 30 day in Iowa this last year, so
It's fun.
We deal with a pretty cold winter.
Yeah. Negative 30. It's great. You get icicles forming on your eyelashes.
Your mustache freezes the second you walk outside. Every single time. It's
Does
crazy.
not sound fun.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're saying this is going to be as big as the Carrington event, which means we might see substations blow up.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about today on the Culture War. There were two dudes that have survival states and stuff. And I mean, look, I don't know for sure, but it is something that people are talking about, like normies, quote unquote, are talking about it. So
they've been peppering it into the corporate press for a year now, which I think why a lot of people are talking about it. But then we had Suspicious Observers, Space Weatherman, Ben on Culture War, when we talked about the Earth turning upside down. And he's been following this. He according to him, he follows this stuff very closely. He thinks there's a 10% chance of like that kind of thing happening, like really bad stuff.
What if the shadow campaign is this?
Dude,
the reason why they don't care about Joe Biden, the reason why they don't care about Trump, the reason why they don't care about the polls is that what really happens is the grid gets knocked out for a month. And then it's like October 27th. And then there's a massive geostorm hits. Yes. And this is the primer. So it's like this happens. Then, like in September, they say, we're forecasting another major solar storm to hit the Earth. It could be as bad as the Carrington event. We all saw this happen. Everyone get ready. October 27th, boom. Yep. Communications go down. And we're all sitting around going, what's going on? And then the power's out until like November 20th. And then we wake up and they're like, Kamala Harris is president.
What did the evil people learn about the last few years is that we use the internet to subvert their narrative.
Yeah.
And now they want to take that from us.
That's true.
Yep.
We did use, the way that we've been trying to get our language back has been through the internet. 100%.
And people found that language. And there's a lot of people who don't agree with the power class who have a language now that could subvert them, and they don't want us to do that.
And whether you love them or hate them, Elon helped give us some of that back too on Twitter.
If communications got knocked out, that's how it used to be. Mm-hmm. It used to be that you'd go to vote, and then like 2 months after the election, or maybe like a month, a pony rider, brought up the paper, and they were like, "Oh, that's who won." Yeah. Last month they swore him in, huh?
Dude,
I just been up here farming.
If the power goes out again, Hillary Clinton could go to Harlem and pull out hot sauce from her purse and not get in trouble and ragged about it on internet like she did last time. Because she can just go and be whatever that area needs her to be.
But let's be serious. Think about this: if the communications did go down, and Google, nothing worked, the internet was knocked out, it would jam up the economy real bad, something fierce. It would really shuffle up the economy. But let's be real. When the grid comes back on and they come out and say Kamala Harris is president or Joe Biden, there's going to be no argument. Right now,
no more doubt.
Well, it's because people can go back and be like, how come on this day during the election CNN ran these numbers, but then these numbers? Right. How come these people were seen on video in a viral video of being blocked from viewing the counting process? Mm-hmm. They get rid of all of the surveillance footage. They get rid of all of the questionable footage of people who can't see in. The windows are being boarded up. And then all they can say is, most secure election we've ever had.
Right.
And you're good. If the grid went down, they could literally just go, all right, everybody, election's off. We're just going to say Biden won. Done. And no one can prove otherwise because all evidence has been destroyed by the solar flare.
What if that backfires on them and actually causes widespread maximum distrust?
It will.
And then people on a massive scale reject anything they're told.
It'd be worse than massive distrust.
Then how about this? What if the grid goes down for 4 months?
I think it's dystopian.
What is it, 21 days for a routine or something?
Yeah.
Most people realign themselves to the new economic order when the communication grid goes down. And then when it finally comes back up, no one's asking who the president is. They're asking, what do I got to do today to get my loaf of bread?
Yeah, the president might be useless at that point. Yeah. Like DC's just so
you're just making arguments to get on propane. First of all, second of all, start stocking food, start storing food. If you're not prepping by now, you're. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, it's time to start. It's been time to start.
Especially if you got
kids.
kids.
We were saying that we were talking today. If you go to FEMA's website, like a lot of people don't like to think about like doing prepping stuff because they're like, oh, it makes me weird, and that show on History Channel and blah blah blah, and they feel like they're weirdos or whatever. But if you go to FEMA's website, that is, the Federal Emergency Management Agency or whatever, like they have a list of stuff. And that's what the government recommends. That's not like weirdo outside of, crazy person stuff. It's just the stuff the government recommends. And if you do that, you're ahead of the game. Right. You're significantly ahead of the game.
This is a really easy campaign promise for me. If you vote for me, I won't cyber attack you.
You say that now.
Have
but
you
what
been,
if you
I'm
really
sorry,
don't
Joshua,
like us once they
as
talk to you?
candidate for president, have you been checked for brainworms?
I have not.
Okay.
No, but my wife is very, very big into the anti-parasite stuff. So she, I'm sure if I had him, I would know by now. She would let me know.
We're going to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and become a member at timcast.com. We don't do the members-only shows on Fridays, but we will read your Super Chats now. Token Black Guy with the first one saying, howdy, people. Yo. No Clint today, just Token Black Guy. He takes the first Super Chat. Let's see, what does it say? It's always hard to tell if it's an M, R, or an N. If it's an R and an N next to each other. So I think it's Loomis. Hey, Tim, been watching you for years. My sister just had twins, and I'm wanting to fly out to meet them, but cannot afford it. My Venmo is Samjda. Good luck, sir. Maybe someone super chatted money to be sent to a random person. So I guess that's a thing that's happening now.
Wow.
Oh.
All right. Owen Frechette says, could give I think he's mean to say, could you give a shout out to my brilliant and beautiful wife, Molly McGuire? It's her first Mother's Day, and I just want her to know how much I love and appreciate everything she does for our daughter.
That's
Shout
adorable.
out, Molly.
Shout out, Mom.
Mother's Day is Sunday. If you have a mom or a wife, maybe you should do something about that.
Only day I'll be home in the next 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
Good. Well planned.
Thank God.
That worked out.
Love you, babe. I'll see you Sunday.
David Dorr says, Tim, you were absolutely right about prisons on the culture war this morning. As a former guest of the state, I can corroborate. Most would leave, but prisons are extremely secure, and they have vehicles, weapons, fuel, and food. So we were talking about prepping, and I said, in the event of a collapse, prisons become Fort Marauder.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That they're going to open up everything, and then they're going to use that as a fortification, because as hard as it is to get out, it's hard to get in.
Hard to get in, yeah.
And so they're going to have weapons, they're going to have vehicles, they're going to have resources, and they're going to go marauding, and then they're going to come back and store everything in this fortress.
I believe that. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I've also watched The Walking Dead.
I was going to say, that was I was thinking, what zombie movie did they do that in? Yeah, Walking Dead.
There are ideas that I have that I'm not going to say because it's a TOS.
Just thinking that, dude.
I'm bugging out to Appalachia for sure.
You got to keep some things like
this
close
is the place
to the
to
chest.
be.
Yeah.
Got a lot of water, you got rivers, you got wells, and it's mountainous and easy to defend.
It's like our own little Afghanistan.
That's right, it is. All right, Brian Egon says, howdy, people. Tim, I award this $100 to the super chatter of your choice. A sort of pay it forward if you like. Have fun. Oh, man.
They're doing some cool things in your chats there, dude.
Yeah. I paid a couple people's rent this week.
Oh, that's really nice.
That's awesome.
That's
and
very
so,
cool.
So we do have one person who wants to fly to see his sister who just had twins.
Twins. That's
there.
so many nieces and or nephews.
Yeah.
Maybe that will be the $100 that someone is gifting.
Yeah. Nice.
Epic Gamer says, not a coffee
Controversial.
drinker, but cast brew coffee is good. Can't wait for cast brew tea. If you ever make it, make sure you do loose leaf and CTC, not just tea bags. As for flavors, consider Ceylon and Earl Grey.
Go back to Britain.
Hey, I like tea. Earl Grey.
kidding.
I vote Earl Grey.
I vote coffee, man. I'm a coffee guy. I drink a lot of coffee.
I'm drinking Earl Grey right now.
You got 7 kids?
Russell W says, hi, Tim. Today, my HVAC failed in my workshop. I'm a small ring maker. Can't run machinery till I can afford to fix it. Gets over 100 degrees without it. Anything helps. Love the show. And then he lists his Venmo, Russell Warner. I don't know. What's more important, visiting your newborn twin niece and nephew, or having your workshop be able to be worked in?
What size is his HVAC? Where does he live? I do HVAC. I can come fix him.
You'll get a vote.
Say you want to return to the hypotheticals about abortion, or should we just decide people's fates in the super chats?
Yeah.
Ringmaker is cool, though.
That is
There
cool.
used to be a guy who would super chat into a Pop Culture Crisis all the time who was like a goldsmith in,
Oh,
I
nice.
think, Texas.
Wow.
I feel like
I knew a guy that
careers
used
where
to
you
make
make
rings.
actual things are very cool.
Yeah, and there's fewer and fewer people that
Yeah.
do that too.
I knew a guy because I grew up in New England. Probably you knew guys who do this, but who knew how to like stack the stones to make those like iconic
Right.
stone walls. And his son had very serious addiction problems. He was raising his grandson, and he died before his grandson was very old. So like that trade that he had learned from his grandfather, who had learned it from his grandfather, just completely went away with
When
him.
I still
Sad.
lived in
actually.
Oakland, I started my own like handyman business, and I did lath and plaster.
Yeah.
And I come to find out that like everybody who was good at lath and plaster was dead. Like there was no. So I was getting calls like every day because there's tons of lath and plaster in the city still in San Francisco
old houses
and Oakland.
too, if you know how to do it.
Yeah, and so they were calling me in to do lath and plaster all the time. I was making
Cornered the
money
market.
hand over fist. Yeah, it was good.
All right, Beavis McLean says, Phil, the new single Divine is awesome. The vocals and drums are just next level. Keep up the great work.
Phil's
and
never going to get tired of this.
I hope to catch All That Remains and Megadeth on the road this summer.
Hell
Thank you so much. And absolutely not. Why on earth? Are you kidding
Dude,
me?
I'm going to drive to Minneapolis to see you.
It is,
so
it is,
I
it
wanna
is
hear it.
such a massive,
you
massive
guys are coming to
compliment. I'm
Iowa.
so appreciative
Phil
of
hates
every
Iowa.
single.
Yeah, Phil hates Iowans.
Listen, I don't do the booking, man.
I know.
I love Slipknot. I want to put that on the record.
Yeah, everybody in Des Moines has a story twice removed from Corey Taylor or Slipknot. Every single person.
That's because he still lives up there.
Dude, I know somebody who
awesome.
saw him running down the street naked at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Wow.
I feel bad for Alicia sometimes.
All right. Pims the Great says, howdy, Tim and crew. I threw my shoulder out a couple weeks ago, tilling my garden. Doc said I need to avoid doing it again. Have a give send to go for a small tractor. Look up Pim the Tractor. I don't know. I think the guy's workshop is the current leader.
Yeah.
That's where my gut is, just because he's got to take care of himself.
It's a toss up for him and the twins.
I get seeing the twins, but it's unfortunately not your kids, and this guy's got to work.
I'd love a new tractor too, buddy. I think we all would for sure.
It's tough.
We're looking into getting some guy. He races his lawnmower. And we're going to get him a wrap because we got Cody Dennison's ARCA racer NASCAR wrap Timcast car.
Yep.
And so someone super chatted like, I race lawnmowers. You want to wrap it? I was like, yes, we do.
Nice.
We're just supporting American culture everywhere that we
I
can.
saw that you guys did that on the NASCAR wrap. That was really cool. That was a pretty cool thing. My mom watches NASCAR. I don't, but my mom does for sure.
All right. Rodney says, my brother almost died from quitting alcohol. He is home now, but they drained 13 to 15 gallons of fluid from his body. His girlfriend set up a GoFundMe to help with the bills at Calling All Neighbors in the Friendly Neighborhood. Anything can help them right now. Oh, wow. Does that beat the guy who needs his air conditioning fixed?
It might, dude. It's pretty tough. It's a close. I mean, can you do a poll and make them decide? I don't want to decide this. You should make the chat decide.
It's always a question of like, do you support a lot to one person, or like, do you give small amounts to several people?
Wait.
Like,
This guy went through all this after being a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
Is that what it said?
That's a tough one.
It says.
but
It's a GoFundMe though. That makes it tough.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, we like Give Send Go here. GoFundMe is super woke, and they ban good people who need real help. And so, I don't want to hold that against you, though. But maybe. All right, we'll grab some more super chats. Right now, it's basically like a Shark Tank of need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Token Black Eye says, hey, Tim, here's $10 to pass forward to a lucky super chatter for pizza. Also, Phil, can I get a yeah?
Yeah.
So it's up to 110 now to give to a person in need. Look at that. That's super cool. Operation Outstanding in Field says, Shane, Drew here. For your show, would you like to have me on and talk about my coma fever dream hours after getting diagnosed with GBS?
Yep.
It's the stuff of nightmares and life survival.
Exactly. That's exactly what we want to hear about. Hit me
coma
up.
dreams are crazy.
Oh, if it's the Drew, I think it is. then
Yeah.
yeah, definitely hit me up, dude.
You were in a coma?
No, I wasn't. One of my step grandparents was, and he came out of it talking about crazy. Oh yeah,
Were you
Serge
really in a
was.
coma?
For like a long period, right?
Holy shit, dude. I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, his story is actually pretty wild. He got knocked into a coma, and then he was like on a roller coaster into this weird city where a small monkey creature rode the thing back up into his body and then was running around doing flips and stuff and jumping over cars.
This was in your coma, you saw that?
Yeah, no. The monkey entity took over
the
his
reality.
body and woke up, and then he was in this weird coma world where he had to take over Chris Kattan's dead
I love
body.
that movie. Yes.
Yeah, I
We
was
don't
like,
say-
does
I'm like,
anybody,
where are we going now?
Does anybody?
Oh, I knew you were going there. I just haven't heard. I couldn't think of Chris
Monkey
Kattan's
Bone.
name, dude. It's such a.
Monkey
I
Bone.
love
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
I love
I knew
that.
it wasn't real, but I never get movie
Brendan
references.
Fraser
yeah.
and Chris Kattan. He takes over the dead Olympic gymnast's body.
Movies used to be so good.
That was a good movie. That was a cheesy good movie.
Right, cheesy, but we enjoy it for its badness.
Have you seen the movie John Travolta that came out not too long ago? That's directed by Fred Durst from Limp
I heard
Bizkit?
about
Is this
it.
like
I haven't
the
seen
action
it.
movie or whatever?
No, he's like a stalker. He's like an autistic stalker, and he's stalking like a famous actor. And the famous actor is what's the guy from Idle Hands and Little Giants and Devon Sawa.
Okay.
Oh,
And it's like so cheesy, but it was really really good. movie. You should check it out. I can't remember the name of it. Someone's
Fred
gonna have to
Durst,
say it.
huh?
Fred
Fred
Durst
Durst.
directed
Fred
it.
Durst.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's back. That's why I said I'm running as president, and I promised to make
Fred Durst is a
him.
registered member of the Libertarian Party.
Is he really?
Oh,
I
wow.
want him to be the poet laureate of the country. So if you become president,
go. Yeah, let's
could you
do
hit
it.
him up? Yeah.
The newest Limp Bizkit record is great.
Yeah.
Dad
Yes.
Vibes, it's awesome.
I liked it too.
It's a
Yes.
great record.
It's
Thank
called
you.
Dad Vibes.
I'm
Yes,
pretty
and
sure.
it's great.
I know there's a song called Dad Vibes. I'm not sure.
And
if
the
I'll
last song
Are
on
you
that
saying
record?
it's pro-family? Are you saying it's pro-natalist? 'Cause I'm
Yes. The last song on that record is actually better than most like 90s pop music as well.
I was
Great
born
album.
in 1983. I proudly went to Limp Bizkit concerts, and they were insane. Absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
I
They were a
mean,
lot of
and
fun.
also, sorry, I know we don't talk about Limp Bizkit forever, but they also were part of Family Values.
Yes.
So there is a
there's a
family theme
thing
here.
there. Yeah, I like it.
So we just got a super chat from the bearded Fatsman. Says, watch the show every night. Diagnosed with leukemia last month. Self-employed and struggling with business and medical bills. Everything helps. Give, send, go. Kyle's fight against leukemia.
That's the guy. That's the one we got to help there. Leukemia is rough. It's a tough
Yeah.
one. Good luck. God bless you, man. Sorry.
Oh, whoa, really?
That's terrible.
Oh, there's actually a whole bunch of GoFundMe's titled that.
Oh, well. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
This is tough. Is it up to you, Tim,
What part
to
of
decide
India
this
are
at the
you
end?
in?
let's go to everybody.
I think the chat should decide. I think that
The
makes
chat.
it.
Yeah.
I don't like
So we
having
got
to
any
decide.
questions at all
Yeah.
in there? Or are we going to talk about any questions?
Phil,
I
who should get
I
the
don't
money?
know that I can actually find this, my friend.
I don't know. Don't put me in charge of that stuff.
Yeah, I searched for that title and it didn't come up. Kyle's fight against leukemia. Give, send, go. It's not finding it. Let me try a broader search.
Drag.
Yeah. But in the meantime, there's a little kid. Oh man, now I got to give this kid money.
Yeah.
Well, he's over his goal actually. He's about to hit his goal. Okay, I got to give this kid money. This is just some little kid.
Like helping people peripherally now.
Yeah, no, I
Through
just
the
searched and
chats.
this is a little kid. He's got leukemia.
Yeah.
What is this?
Oh man,
4 years old. Oh, geez.
terrible.
All right, he needs a couple grand.
Maybe we should just like scroll through leukemia or Give, Send, Go all the time. Be like,
Yeah.
support you, this one.
Yeah. You can pull it up and put it like in the super chat.
Do you think people prioritize charitable giving enough? Or do you think, especially in economically hard times,
No.
people sort of push on the back
I think the
burner?
trend. I think charitable giving has been outsourced to the government. People think that taxes are there's a social safety net. There's taxes, so charitable giving does not exist for people that are not religious. And I think they've seen that in studies. I'm not sure.
I've heard that as our community sort of fell apart, one of the first things to go was charitable giving. And it's actually something that people talk about in relation to women staying at home, because typically in Indiana University had the School of Philanthropy did a study on this. Women tend to be the people who decide the charitable giving. Like if you have a family budget, you're like, well, this is where these things are going. And so as we focus more on work all the time and individualize ourselves, these structures that we have that would have normally been the ones to be like, okay, now we got to make a decision about who we're helping, they fell apart.
It's
And so
also-
the aid isn't there.
Charity, they ask you for charity everywhere now. Like you check out at Petco or supermarket, they want an
Tips.
extra 10 cents for
Oh,
such
dude,
and
no.
such.
My favorite thing was someone filmed a video where they went to a grocery store and it was self-checkout only, and the self-checkout asked for a tip afterwards. No, for real. Yeah, it was like 5, 10, 20%, and they were like, "Who am I tipping?"
America's
Yeah.
the only culture that does this.
I would have stole a
The
bag
only
of
one.
chips just on principle. Man,
We're the only culture.
I'm
that does
taking
this shit.
some
It's
Reese's
ridiculous.
peanuts and I'm getting out of here.
I'm not anti-tipping, but like it's gotten to a point in the
I'm
United States.
anti-tipping
There was a
robots.
female comedian who said that like she doesn't like tipping, especially when you're like at a coffee shop and like you're doing most of the work yourself, like you're paying.
Yeah.
She's like, I work here now. You pay me. Like that's how I feel about the self checkout at the grocery store. You should get a discount because you're
Yeah.
now an employee.
I always like when they ask you if the amount is okay. I'm like, can I negotiate? Because it's
Is this
not.
up for a
It's not.
discussion?
Yeah, is this mount okay?
Yeah, I
You're
don't like it.
No,
All right.
not really.
Brad Markland says, Tim, please state what cutoff you'd be okay banning. There is some who have even considered partial and post-birth abortion. No time for a full cutoff. I don't know what you mean. Like
He's asking where you think the cutoff
the
should
time
be for abortion. Yeah.
Well, I said this last night in the members only show. The solution is actually really
Baby
simple.
murder. Sorry.
When the woman goes into an abortion clinic, she signs the paperwork, and you're like, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And she says, "Yes." Say, "Right this way." You lay her down. Then you administer anesthetic, which will keep her in a medically induced coma for 9 months, and then When she wakes up, you just say, procedure's done. I'm kidding.
Holy
Her
crap.
family doesn't wonder where she went.
That's pretty base, Tim. I'm not going to lie, dude.
That's what was going on in that brainwashing camp in Canada.
Medically,
Put you- put you in a coma for a year and wash your brain.
There is no there's no easy answer for the abortion question, because like I was saying before, it's a spear. There's no battleground. There's no fence. It's you cannot stand in the middle. It doesn't exist. So I think ultimately what it comes down to is the 14th Amendment says that a person can't be deprived of life without due process. And I believe that human beings are persons. There's no legal distinction and there's no logical or scientific distinction between a baby gestated at 8.5 months and a baby gestated at 8.5 months that was born. They're the exact same level of development. And so I've asked this of every pro-choice person. They can't give me an answer. What is the legal distinction between two babies that were conceived at the exact same moment? They're both gestated to 8.5 months, and then one woman goes into an early labor. They deliver the baby. The moment that baby touches air, it's now got due process rights. But because it hasn't touched air, it has no due process rights. Doesn't make sense. So what's the logic in the law for that? I think whether anyone wants to accept it or not, and whether my opinion matters, it doesn't. A Supreme Court ruling on the 14th Amendment would be abortions require a judge's sign-off. Now, whether or not you want to say with medical exemptions and for contraception, whatever, it doesn't matter. A judge still has to sign off on it.
Right.
Because a person has due process rights. And that being said, ultimately what I think that turns into is abortion's over.
Hopefully.
Because judges won't sign off on it.
Yeah.
But this means all, in like almost every circumstance. The judge would sign off on issues where the mother's life is in jeopardy and things like that. There would be emergency hearings. Those already exist. A lot of pro-abortion people are like, well, then what if a woman's in a serious medical emergency and they need to act now and they can't? It's like, yeah, they already have courts for this where a judge can be contacted in moments. Like we're talking with like minutes to an hour or whatever. So I don't think that's the issue. Seamus Coughlin brings up a good point. When the left says there will be back alley abortions, he goes, yeah, of course. Yeah. Right. And there will be very few of them, and there will be overwhelmingly no abortions. So.
And that's the thing is like murder and robbery and theft. These things are dangerous, and they're supposed to be dangerous, right? So like, yeah, there's going to be back alley abortions, and people can die from back alley abortions, and good. I mean, at the end of the day, it should be dangerous to commit murder.
Yeah,
right.
I don't want them to die.
I don't want them to die, but it should
Work
be
on
dangerous.
your messaging because someone will take that right away. Be like, oh, people will die. Good. There you go.
It should be dangerous to commit murder. It should be.
Just say and work on the messaging.
Hal Gailey says a baby conceived in rape is not a second assault on the woman. It's a second victim of the rape. Make that POV the prevailing one. Fix the premise. And I understand this too. The argument from the right on this one is that the attack on the woman is not the rape. It's the rape and the entire duration of the pregnancy to which the baby has to be born. So in that argument, it's, I'm sorry this happened to you, ma'am, but the pregnancy already happened to you. That's the point. That's where you have the conservative argument on saying no exceptions for rape.
And we're not in the business of punishing the innocent children of criminals with death.
Right.
All right. Brad Markland says, no, you're right, Tim. Incest shouldn't count, but birth defects from it, or if it's rape, should count. Incest babies are still alive. So this person, I believe, says there should be an exception for rape. Cain Abel says, pro-life conservative, Tim, no, babies should be murdered. It is not the baby's fault for the sins of the father or both mother and the father.
Those are my people there.
Yeah.
What we do is we take the baby out, we put it in a bag in one of those where they grow the goats and they grow a person. And then the baby is...
They are working on an artificial womb.
How do you think they make
the
Biden?
the moment you get an artificial womb, abortion's illegal.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to, like, that's the problem right now with the logic of Democrats is when RFK Jr. says, even if it's full term, it's like, why kill it?
Right.
If a woman wants to end the pregnancy or needs to end the pregnancy, why kill the baby?
Yep.
I've never gotten a real answer.
That's why I keep saying human sacrifice. It's like they fetishize the violence of it. Like when there's ways to protect
It's a murder cult.
Yeah,
It's a murder cult.
It stems out of this nihilism.
When they're coming out of the abortion clinics, handing the pictures of their unborn baby to pro-life people, saying that's the baby I'm going to murder.
Right.
It's a murder.
Wow.
Cult. Yeah. It's a murder cult. Yeah.
Holm Bryan says, I thought incest was illegal for medical reasons. No.
Not
in
in every
fact,
state.
in some states it is legal. New York, I believe you're legally allowed to gay marry your cousin.
Really?
Yeah.
In New York?
Yeah, New York State
That makes
allows.
sense.
Can
That
you
makes a lot of
straight
sense.
marry your cousin?
Yes.
New York is such a weird state.
So New York is a state where you can marry your cousin and get gay married, which means you can gay marry your cousin.
There's already a meme of me calling Clint Russell Kurt Russell tonight on the show. Literally, there's already a meme of me going around. Thanks a lot to Dan Smots.
I don't think you're getting his
System is down.
endorsement, you know?
No, listen, we were calling him Kurt Russell in Georgia, so that's why I
Snake
said that.
Plissken is now the vice
Yeah.
president.
They were calling him Kurt Russell McCarthy because he was doing the Inquisition about COVID stuff to Jacob Hornberger. And
Richard Slammer says, Tim, by definition, incest is non-consensual. It's a form of rape a parent forces on a child. That some people argue to normalize it by so-called bro-cis consent almost never happens. A straw man. That's not the point. The point is the term legally incest refers to familial sex.
It could be.
And if it was
So
a-
it
like-
could be brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But okay, so what if it's a 40-year-old parent with a 20-year-old
that's degenerate.
kid?
Disgusting.
Penal
I know.
colony.
Yeah.
So arrest.
No. I don't know. I don't
Is there?
think so.
Well, there's an argument for.
That's degeneracy. They definitely need to leave
Yeah, like
a polite society. But
are there blasphemy laws in your libertarian
God,
presidency?
no.
Not to go too crazy, but it's something I think about a lot.
I
'cause
mean,
there's a lot of
in
people
my in my perfect world, sure.
yeah.
but not.
But can
not
those
America.
exist in this country?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think they could. We're built on it. We're built. I believe that we were built as a Christian nation with the right to freedom of religion, right?
And free will.
And free will, yeah. So like 70% of the population in the United States today calls themselves some type of denomination of Christian right now.
Yeah.
70%.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the founding was meant to be more Christian than not. But it's written into our founding documents. That
I
we
would
have freedom of religion.
question they'll 70% of people will say they're Christian. I don't think that 70% of
They're not practicing.
Only 40% of us have ever read the Bible.
Yeah, they're as
for
Christian as Biden is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's, and I think that they're actually not even, they don't even behave like Christians anymore, though.
No, what
Yeah.
they mean is my parents got me baptized. We went to church a couple times when I was a kid. So
Christian
I'm
in
going to say
name
this.
only, yeah.
Right. It's very different. And I think this is interesting because I think you'll see people who turn to religion as one of these segments in culture. You'll have a lot of people. Atheism was atheism and agnosticism were one of the two fastest growing religions. I think the Pew Research Center has a poll on this, and people are always like, "Oh, this is crazy," but is it actually crazy? Because I think this is the culture we're in. Like, they don't want you to be any religion at all. They don't want you to be Christian in America because that's too close to what the founding fathers wanted. But on top of that, they want you to believe in nothing and not have families and to be alone and to be
want you to
completely
believe in the state.
self-absorbed.
So, like, I am an agnostic and I don't have, this isn't a spiritual thing that I'm talking about, but the left wants you to be anti-Christian.
Well, they don't want you to have any community.
No, they
don't want you to have any faith at all.
they want you to be anti-Christian. The project that the left does is all anti-family, anti-Christian. Marx called him, there was times where Marx would call himself the Antichrist. Like, the whole left is about tearing down the things that people consider quote unquote good, and we get our conception of good from the Judeo-Christian
There's no such thing.
whatever. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to fight about
I don't.
freaking Israel
I know,
every
buddy.
time. Like, Jesus Christ, you people are autistic.
I will say,
but the point is,
it's the communist playbook.
the point is,
100%.
the point is they want to tear down like all of the things that Western society is built on, like all of the
And
things
if you
that
need any
make our
proof of
society
that-
work.
If you need any proof of that, just look at the communist revolution in Russia, where they actually had to excommunicate
Yes.
and kill the Orthodox Christians. That's how
So-
it's part of the playbook, man.
We're up to 235.
Dang.
And people have super chatted saying, give it to someone else. There is this dude, Alto Native, said he lives in his car and he needs new tires, needs the help, but he did not link a Venmo or GoFundMe or anything like that.
Bummer.
Did you see that story about the homeless woman who's been living on the roof of a building, like behind their sign, for over a year?
No.
She had like a computer up there.
wow.
She had some
it- yeah,
appliances.
There's
Isn't
probably
there a term now for that kind of thing? They call it frogging, where people are living secretly in
I've heard
a
that
place.
too. But also sometimes I think frogging is like specific to residential.
Okay.
I don't know if maybe
Okay.
it cannot be applied commercially.
Did
too.
you ever see the home video of that the there was that family that lived in an apartment, and there was like this space above their front door, like randomly. It had like a kind of like a door on it, and then they put in a camera because they kept hearing noises and stuff, and there was someone living
Yeah, I
up
think I
there
heard that.
There's a
in
whole
their
TV show
apartment.
called Frogging.
Dude,
where people
really?
talk about this.
Crazy
yeah.
to me.
It's creepy.
Crazy.
I
There was
can't watch
a-
a lot of it.
I saw a video where someone was complaining about noises at night, and they would it got bad where they called the police a couple times. The police came in, looked around, and couldn't find anything, so they installed a camera. And then they actually saw someone crawl out of the ceiling into
Above
into the kitchen and started taking food, and then crawled back up.
The show that I was watching, again, it's called Frogging, and every episode there's like a couple stories, and this one mom was like, yeah, like I noticed a lot of sodas were going missing, but I had a bunch of teenagers, and she was saying one night she had a young daughter who was like spending the night in her bed, had bedroom or whatever, and at one point she woke up and she's like, Mom, there's a man standing in the closet. And it turned out the closet had one of those things where you like push up and
someone
get to the
living
attic. He had been living there for like a long time.
I'm not even gonna
I have
say
a
what I
16.
wanna
So I have a
say.
1,600 square foot basement. Okay, it's the same. It's the same size as our house. It's a ranch level, and then the basement's the same exact size. And there's like all kinds of nooks and crannies, and there's like 4 different rooms down there, and then there's a part that's unfinished, and that's where I have my podcast studio.
Right.
And there's several doors that enter into there too.
Right.
And every night.
You check them?
Every night I go down there and I look
dude,
for
I'm the same
I
way.
look through everything.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
You gotta check
absolutely,
every nook
100%.
and cranny.
Every night.
You never
Every
know.
night. With my gun.
Well, obviously.
Every night.
See, this is why women should live with men.
Yes.
Right?
There's a
Yeah,
reason
will
why.
a bear do that?
A bear would never do that for you.
Yeah.
There are a couple crazy stories. I mean, I highly recommend this TV show, but again, I can only watch like 2 episodes at a time. It makes me like, I moved into a new apartment, and like every once in a while I'll hear something, I'll be like,
Yeah,
who
I'm
lived here
already
before me?
paranoid. I don't need a TV show to make it worse.
I regret to inform women that after 2 weeks of living with them, the bear has returned to men. In case you're wondering.
So I couldn't find. I searched Give Send to Go for leukemia, Kyle leukemia. I couldn't find it. It's not there.
That sucks.
I did give some other kid who was 4 years old and had leukemia a couple grand. So
Oh, no.
That's what's up.
That's good.
yeah, that was brutal, and that was
very
from
nice
a few
of you,
months ago. So their family's going to see it, and hopefully, help them out because they said
Yeah.
nuts the surgeries and everything. But I think the guy who needs to fix his AC is currently winning.
Yeah.
I'd like to help the guys living in his car, but he didn't give us a Venmo or anything. So the guy who's trying to work hard because he wants to get his workshop up and running seems to make a
This
lot
is
of
really
sense.
cool, man. When did you start doing this, too?
Well, I just abruptly paid someone's rent
On like
and then,
Monday.
and then people started asking more and more, and so I just started paying
That's
other
really
people's
cool,
rent.
man. That's a really cool thing.
That's awesome.
But then some people are like, Tim, stop. Now everyone's just posting and begging. And I'm like, I mean, people are just doing it. I never said I was going to give him money, but I guess you do. And then people are like, if he is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it.
Things
It's
are
gonna-
really bad. Like I've traveled
Alright.
this country
It's
so
shitty
much,
right
and
now.
it's
Here we go.
everywhere.
Fix your air conditioning, guy. Here's $235.
Sick.
Damn, nice.
Yeah, I've been talking to like taxi drivers and people in the hotels,
Dude, people are
teachers,
not
small business
doing
owners.
well.
It's everyone's crushed.
I'm telling you right now, it's going to be worse than 2008. It's coming. Bad crash. Bad. The
All right.
worst.
it feels like something
it's coming
is
bad.
brewing.
Really bad, yeah.
You take a look at the Fed's losses, the unrealized losses, their balance sheet.
I haven't.
It's just like negative in the insane to insane. It's nuts.
Horrible.
Yeah, we're House of Cards is an understatement. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, because that's how we fund the show. And you get access to the Discord server where you can hang out. There's going to be an after show, but only in the Discord server, and it's the members that put it on. So definitely check that out. You can follow me at Timcast on X and Instagram. Follow the show at Timcast IRL everywhere, as well as Rumble. Josh, you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'm at war with all the other blue checks there. It's at Joshua at large. And of course, go check out the campaign website at joshuasmith2024.com. We got 2 weeks till the nomination. 2 weeks. And we set a goal to raise 10 grand. So if you can throw a couple bucks, we'd appreciate it.
What's the YouTube channel for Sunday?
Tales from the Inverted World.
What time?
It will be at 6 o'clock Eastern time, and you will be there. And
will
we're
be
going to
there.
have call-ins. We have already a bunch of people lined up to tell us stories. We'll go through some news items about some weird stuff that's going on in the world, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Subscribe, everybody. Go to Tales from the Inverted World on YouTube. Subscribe now. Anything else you want to shout out
I
before
want
we-
to come on this show.
Yeah,
too.
you should definitely come on that
Yeah.
show.
Everybody has been asking to come on,
Yeah.
like who works here,
Yeah.
because like, literally everybody.
Yeah.
They're like, this is so much fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Aliens, ghosts.
Yeah, thank you to
murder
everyone
mysteries.
who sent me messages. I've had so much fun reading all these messages. If you have one, hit me up at Shane Cashman at scanner.com, SCNR.com. I'm taking submissions there, also on X, wherever. I'm going through them all. I'll hit you up. I'll send you a link. You can be a caller on the show. We're still like tweaking out.
Aiden from the Lore Lodge on your show.
I was
too.
just thinking
Aiden's
about
great,
those guys.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Amazing.
Lore Lodge is what's up.
Amazing.
So I got a lot of people lined up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm stoked.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can catch us this summer on the Destroy All Enemies tour with Megadeth and Mudvayne, starting August 2nd, going through September 28th or something like that. The new single from All That Remains is out now. It's called Divine. It's available on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube, the internet. Hannah Claire.
Real quick, I just want to stress, I think it's been up for about a week now.
Yeah, week
You got
today.
like 600K on YouTube.
Yeah.
And anybody who follows their favorite bands, that's massive.
It's crazy.
It's amazing.
It's a super big deal. I really appreciate all the people that have spun it, just because we've been gone for 6 years. We haven't put out new music because we had a bunch of stuff. So one of our guys passed away, COVID. Another guy had a kid, and a bunch of other business stuff. So the fact that so many people have been spinning our stuff and showing so much support, I really appreciate the heck out of it. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful, and I can't wait to see you guys on the road. Hannah Claire.
I think it's going to be a cool summer for you, Phil. I'm excited for your tour.
Cheers.
It's been fun to be here with everybody. I'm Hannah Claire Brimla. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. That's Scanner News. You can follow all of Scanner's work at Timcast News on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Twitter at Hannah Claire B, and I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. Bye, Serge.
Bye, guys. Have a good weekend. Cheers.
Thanks for hanging out. We got clips throughout the weekend, and Sunday, Tales from the Inverted World, 6 p.m. is going to be a hoot, and we'll see y'all there.